Hey, hey guys, how's it going? Hey Michelle, hey Kelval. Whoops. Oh, sorry, I think I might have lost my connection. Am I live? Oh yeah, good. Okay, sorry guys. Hey Kelval. Hey spicy little princess, welcome. I'm so glad you're joining me. Good to see you. Hey Denise. Hey bitter pill to swallow. Number one swat waffle. Hi. Hey, Sicilian Princess. Hey, Tuesday. Hi. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm so glad that you feel this is a safe space to come and chat. I'm going to do everything in my power to keep it that way. So good to see you, Tuesday. Hey, Casey Brown. Denise, thank you. Hey, Jess. Share Bear 666. Hi. Welcome, Bell Bell. Thank you. Doing good tonight. Thank you. How's everybody doing? I'm gonna maybe take the comment. Oopsie, sorry. Maybe take the comment off. Put a smaller comment. I don't know. Jazz, good to see you. Grateful MC, hey. Thanks for joining me. Always good to see you. Spicy little princess. Just keep it real. Hey, bestie. Coral. Hey, Kira. Hi, mama. How are you? Good to see everybody. Hey. Thank you so much for joining me tonight, guys. Thank you. Everybody, please hit the thumbs up while you're here. It helps put me in the algorithm and get more people to see my videos. I really appreciate it if you take 1 minute to hit the thumbs up. That means a lot to me. Thank you. Thanks, guys. See the different light. I don't think anyone probably cares, but we have bluish, the warmish, the regular. I don't know. I kind of like the warm. I might take it off. We'll see. What's up, guys? Hey, Kim. Thank you for joining me. Thanks. Take about 5 minutes, say my hellos to everybody coming in, and then we'll get into it. Aw, oh, thank you. Thanks. Just keep it real. It's much better. I got the contact out. I got the contact out, guys. When I woke up yesterday morning, thank you. Oh, thanks, number one. I love you. Thank you so much for being here. Your support means the world to me, guys. Thank you. I got it. Yeah, I got the contact out yesterday morning when I woke up. Thank you, Denise. Thank you so much. Oh my God, thank you. Um, thank you guys. You guys are too good to me. I got the contact out yesterday morning. I woke up and my eyes were very dry, and I just kind of was like rubbing it in the mirror. And um, I think Michelle's legs was the one who had told me to take like the corner of my eye and kind of pull it out towards the bridge of my nose and look up and down a bunch of times while putting a stream of solution. And I managed to just, it popped right out. In the morning, it was dry and it was like tinted blue, whereas I swear it wasn't tinted before. I mean, maybe it was. I swear it wasn't tinted. Thank you so much. Oh my God. Thank you. I appreciate the concern. Thanks. So, thank you for joining me, guys. It means so much to me to have all of you here with me. 77 viewers. Woo-hoo. All right. Thanks, guys. So, Tuesday, where Leslie, one of the Manson girls, got approved for parole today. Oh my God, get out of town. I didn't see that. I didn't see that. I was just researching everything, um, planning out for my first delve into the Manson girls. I think it's actually going to be this weekend, possibly Saturday night. Oh, shoot. And it hurts like, yeah. Oh, see, well, that was why I was so thrown because it didn't hurt, you know. So I was like, is it still in there? Maybe it's not because it doesn't hurt and this and that. But like, you know, I'm just resilient and used to the sensation. Right. I know. It is scary. It is scary. I'm so thankful. I feel like it had to come out on its own eventually, you know. And then in the morning when your eyes was dry like that, it just kind of popped right out. Oh, thank you, Cher Bear. Thank you so much for joining me. You guys, it means so much that you're here tonight. Tonight's going to be a very special live because as by request, by request actually, tonight I'm going to be sharing my own personal story of my own journey towards recovery from substance use disorder. And I'm just going to be sharing some of my own experience, strength, and hope with you guys in the hopes that I can be an inspiration to people. And I really hope that I might have some viewers watching that are in active addiction and possibly, you never know, it could spark something. And I believe in miracles. I have faith. So I did say a prayer before I came live, asking God to give me the right words to speak tonight, in the hopes I can get the message across the right way. And definitely feeling the love, guys. So let's get into it. Okay. Hey. Oh my God, just keep it real. Thank you. Thank you so much. Oh my God, that means so much to me. I'm so glad. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks. So I have my little stone in my hand, right? This gratitude. And this stone was given to me from the woman who was she was the manager in the sober house where I finished my journey kind of towards reuniting with my family. And me and her had a tough relationship at first because she's the toughest lady I've ever known in my life. Tougher than even, I don't know, maybe tougher than my mom. And my mom was a tough cookie. But this woman, I would call her Marie just to change names around to protect people's identity. I did change a few different names. I would call her Marie, and she definitely showed me the importance of being tough in life and how sometimes you have to be firm and assertive. And that, in fact, it's the only way to keep order in a place like a sober house. And I was so resentful because the rules were very, very detailed and extremely insane. Thank you, Belle Belle. Thank you. And I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to make it in this particular place. And at that point in my journey, I had already been in 16 months of residential treatment where the rules were very insane. If anybody's familiar with the old school ways of the TC communities, they used to call them TCs or therapeutic communities. And the way that they run some of these treatment programs is extremely similar to the way that they ran the old school TCs or treatment centers. Hey, Flava Flav. Thanks for joining me, girly. Oh, I'm so glad you made it to this live, girl. Thank you. Thank you, Flava. Oh, I'm happy to see you in my chat. Thank you. Yeah, tonight I'm going to get into it of my entire story, the good, the bad, and the ugly of everything that I went through. I'm going to touch on what it was like, how it started, how things got to be bad, what it came to be like, and what it's like now. Yes. Oh my God, Flava, thank you. Hey, Hidden Observer. Hey, I'm sharing my entire story of experience, strength, and hope tonight. Yes, I am. I know. I was actually asked to do it, and I was humbled. Humbled. It's my pleasure. It's my honor to share it. Actually, it's my duty to share it. Hey, Ray Ray. Hey, girl. Hey. So good to see you. Welcome. Yeah, I feel like it's not only my pleasure and my privilege, my it's my duty. It's my duty to share this with you guys. I feel that I know that God or my higher power stepped in to save my life, and it was not just for the sake of saving my own life. I know that much. I understand that I was pulled out of the fire so that I was meant to go back and continue pulling the others out. I totally get that. And I accept that responsibility. And it's a privilege and an honor. It's my pleasure. It's everything. Thank you guys for being here. Yeah. So I'm gonna start. Hey, Ladybug Lane, thank you. My date of recovery is May 10th of 2016. So on May 10th of 2016 is where my journey towards recovery began. That I just made 7 years, and I'm so proud to say that in that time I have not slipped once. I do smoke pot. I admit that very freely, but that is all I do. I don't drink, and I've never touched my drug of choice again. And this is my first time ever getting clean, ever, ever. And I understand that relapse is a part of a lot of people's stories, but it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be. A lot of people say relapse is a part of recovery, but it does not have to be. It can be. It can be, but it's absolutely not necessary. Um, so I'm going to start a little bit. I'll touch on my childhood growing up. Um, Growing up, I was always very different. I was always very different, very sensitive. I thought about a lot of things that I don't think a lot of children spend time thinking about. There was a lot of times that I would come to my mom in the middle of the night crying hysterical at around 4 years old. And I would just say, Mom, I'm thinking about dying. And I'm thinking about what happens when you go in the ground and all kinds of horrible stuff. I just, once I learned about death from Charlotte's Web, honestly, I was so distraught over it. And when my mom explains that everybody is going to die, I just couldn't handle that fact at all. And it actually plagued me as a child, where I woke up so many nights crying to my mom. And I thank God I have the best parents. I have really good parents. My mom was the best of the best of the best. I loved my mom so dearly. And she was not just my mom, but she was my best friend. She was my world. She was my everything. And so my mom was great. And I had one sister, only one sibling, 6 years older than me. And my dad, who was excellent, excellent, wonderful provider, protector, perfect dad figure, really. Um, yeah, there was some emotional distance between me and my dad, but I always felt that we both had bipolar disorder, which to this day I don't know if it's bipolar or if that was the autism spectrum disorder or Asperger's. I don't know, but I know my dad also had that diagnosis. So a lot of similarities that we had, especially with anger and rage. It was so similar that we had to butt heads a lot. Oh, thanks, Ray Ray. Thank you. And so we butted heads a lot, and my mom was always the filter about cancer. Yeah, awfully. Yeah. And my parents were always really good. Yeah, we had a huge family growing up. My mom was the oldest of 10 children. So she had 9 brothers and sisters. And my dad had a couple of brothers and sisters, but we didn't talk to them at all because my dad's side of the family, basically, my mom said, they're all alcoholics and drug addicts, and we don't want to associate with that. And, whether it was right or wrong, it's, hard to tell, but she did the right thing to protect us, me and my daughter. I was going to say me and my sister at that time. So she did the best thing she could for us. As a matter of fact, I remember hearing stories, although I don't remember it, of my dad's brother coming to the house and my sister being petrified because he wanted like a cup of water or something, I guess, to wash down pills with. And my mom was like, get out of here. And eventually my mom told my sister that he passed away, even though he didn't, just to calm her nerves because she used to cry and say, I hope that Uncle so and so isn't going to come to the house and try to fight with you again. So my mom told us, don't worry, he passed away, so you'll never see him again. Um, you know, Back in the day, that's how you handled a lot of stuff, especially the Brooklyn way, the Italian way, just that's how it was done. And so we didn't associate with my dad's side of the family, and my mom tried to shelter me from that a lot. And she did whatever she thought was best, and it's understandable. So we had a huge family. I had like 16 cousins, most of whom were all younger than me, but a few my age. that I was close with. And, I had a really good childhood. Like my parents were there for me. It was very typical. It was very middle class, all American. I grew up on Staten Island. I began on Staten Island actually, and I liked it so much better there. We had a huge yard, and it was more like I was able to play in the yard with nature, and it was better suited for me, honestly. But then my grandpa passed away when I was 7 years old, I think, and my grandma needed somebody to step in to help her to finance the house that she was living in because it wasn't paid off, and her brother-in-law was moving to Florida, and they were going to have to sell the house. My grandma wasn't going to be able to do it. So my mom was good enough, out of the goodness of her heart, to tell her husband, listen, we have to buy the house for my mother now that my father passed away. We got to buy the house. And so we'll be downstairs. It was a two-family house. So we were downstairs, and my grandma was upstairs. And that was when we moved to Brooklyn. Um, so then I started going to school in Brooklyn. It was like fourth grade, I think. I was about 8 years old, making a few friends, and not really close friends, but a couple here and there. We have sleepovers, and then around like 9 years old, I had a few more friends, and we started having sleepovers and stuff. And right away around that age, the first thing was to steal cigarettes from our mom, take a couple cigarettes from her pack and go smoke them in the bathroom. And so sleepovers at 10 years old would involve, stealing cigarettes and smoking them in the bathroom and possibly getting our hands on a Mystic or a Zima. Aging myself with that. Not Mystic, Zima. It looked like Mystic in the bottle, if anyone remembers Zima. And so, yeah. Then around fourth grade, I made one best friend. Finally, a real best friend, other than my sister or maybe cousins. And for the story's sake, we'll call her Nicole. So I made this best friend, Nicole, and suddenly I was like brought to life in fourth grade around the age of like 11, you know? And all of a sudden it was like I could be me, and I was happier, you know, um, able to like have friendships. It was a good thing, right? So me and her right off the bat were hanging out with my sister, who was 6 years older than me. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to be not engaging with the chat tonight, guys. I usually would be very much engaging with the chat. However, just for tonight's format, I'm just going to kind of gloss over things. And then at the end, I am going to have a whole segment where I'll take questions. But please feel free to comment as much as you would like. You can ask any questions, and I'll go back and find them. If a question pops into your mind, just put it and just talk amongst yourselves. I'm not ignoring anybody. At the end, I'm going to take questions. Thanks. So my friend Nicole, that we're calling her, right, started having sleepovers around like 11 years old. And right away, we are stealing the cigarettes from her mom. And then I was just dying to try pot. I was dying to, because when I grew up in my family, it was normal. Everybody smoked pot in my family. It was just a regular thing, but nobody did anything else. That was my dad's side that we didn't associate with. But on my mom's side, everybody smoked. It was normal. We would have Saturday night get-togethers, and we have the snacks and the candy and the cards and the checkers on the table, and the joints be passed around very freely with the kids sitting right there. That was a normal thing. Don't forget, guys, that was in the early 90s. That was in the late 80s to early 90s. Hey, Terry Wilkerson. Thank you. Welcome. Thank you for joining me. So that was always very normal in my family. Pot was not a drug. And so that was like, the norm. So I just couldn't wait to try it. I was like, God damn, these adults are having some fun. I just can't wait till I'm old enough to join in. And yeah, so me and my friend Nicole at the sleepovers, um, eventually I remember one night we used to go hang out in a schoolyard at night because that's what we did back in those days. I have no idea if that's what kids these days do, or probably not. But now, back then, we would go and hang out in the schoolyard. If we had nowhere to go, we'd go sit in the schoolyard and smoke our cigarettes and joints and whatever. So, prayers Tuesday, town crier official, prayers play Tuesday. Hey, Miss Renee. Yeah, I could not wait to try pot, you know. Actually, it's funny because a lot of other addicts that I've met in recovery all have some story where a lot of them went through some horrific things, and a lot of them have a lot of bad trauma involved in their story. And I will admit, I'm very lucky and blessed to not have a major trauma attached to my story. There are a few things, and of course, I'm going to touch on all of it tonight. As long as you guys are here for the ride, I'm here for it. Um, there are some things that happened to me, yes, but I feel like nothing as major as a lot of stories that I've heard. I feel like for me, a lot of my story about why I was an addict has to do with the hole in the soul and the inner void. I think that I've struggled with the inner void so much, and I think that that's a lot of it for me was the void inside that I just couldn't fill, and also the sense of not even of wanting to belong. That's not exactly what it was, because even when I was using, I isolated myself very much. Drugs took me away from people further. It was interesting when I look back, when I try to pick apart as to why I did the things I did or why I was the way I was, you know? It is interesting. Thank you. Thank you, Terry Wilkerson. Town Crier Official, I'm so happy to see you. I missed you. You're another one I missed. I used to see you all the time, a long time ago. Welcome. I'm so glad that you feel welcome and safe here. Thank you. Town Crier, it's good to see you. Thank you, Terry Wilkerson. Um, a lot of it for me, I think, was the hole inside, the void, the inner void, social anxiety, along with some trauma and probably undiagnosed mental illness. Now, thank you. Tuesday, I love you. Mwah. Thank you. Everybody is safe here and you're free to express yourself. I barely have the need to time any comments out or anything like that. Nothing phases me. I do ask that you be respectful, but if you choose not to be, I can tolerate that as well. Thank you. I ask for respect, but I don't demand it. If you want to, I'd rather have free speech in my chat than to filter messages. My mods know that. Yeah. Sorry. Sorry, guys. Tuesday. Yes. That's our Tuesday, please. That's our Tuesday. Yeah, I cried when I saw. I got emotional when I saw you, Flav, because I've been in your chat. Yeah. So, we started with the pot. I remember one night being in the schoolyard and Nicole had a jacket that she borrowed from her uncle. And so she's going through the jacket pockets, and inside the jacket pocket is a dime bag full of weed. And we were 10, 11 years old. And so I was like, oh my God, let's smoke it, let's smoke it. And she didn't want to. She wanted to. Oh, Kira, thank you, Mama. Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate all your help with everything. All of my mods, thank you. I really do appreciate you. I know that this is just volunteer work, really, and I appreciate your help so much. Thank you. Yeah, that's our Tuesday, please. So yeah, that night with the pot, Nicole didn't want to smoke it, and she was really upset actually when she found it because I'm sorry, I took it in your town crier. Oh my God, I love you more. We shared. Oh my God, town crier, I missed you and I recognized you right away. Of course, I remember you so. Yeah, thank you. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Oh, thanks. You guys are awesome. It's you guys that allow for me to be comfortable and truthful and vulnerable. So I thank you for that. Oh, thanks. Yeah. And so Nicole was disgusted that night when she found the pot in her uncle's jacket because that was the night that honestly, and I get a nervous laugh. It's not funny. That was the night that she was telling me that her parents were addicted to heroin. And I didn't understand it at that age because I was only 10. And so when I was 10, the year was 1992. And in 92, heroin was not the epidemic that it is today. In 92, people were referring to heroin as smack and looking at it as something from Sid and Nancy, and it was very much frowned upon, a lot more than now. And well, that's understandable. Tuesday, we all need a break sometimes. Um, she told me that her parents were heroin addicts, and I almost like didn't believe it, because I didn't know what to make of it. And I went home and I did tell my mom, and I was like, please don't say anything because I knew she wouldn't. And of course, she didn't. What the hell was she going to say, right? But she said, please, mom, don't say anything. But, Nicole told me that her parents were using heroin and all this stuff. And do you think it could be true or what? Like, and I guess it was true. Yeah, I think it was true. So she was the best. We were best friends for so long, and it's a shame that we just parted ways when we got to be like 13 or 14. I was hanging out with different people. She was hanging out with people that I didn't like, and I became a very controlling friend towards her. And I told her to make a choice that if she was going to hang out with these girls, then I wasn't going to be her friend anymore. And so, sure enough, she chose them over me, and I had to just let it be. And I was sad to mourn her, but I was too controlling of a friend. So I didn't know how to be a friend. Yeah, I didn't want to let her be friends with anybody that I didn't like. And yeah, that didn't work out. It's a shame because we could have still been friends to this day. I still see her on Facebook, but I don't think we're friends. I didn't want to send her a request. But her name is not Nicole, guys. I am covering people's names for their own safety. I'm not giving anyone's names or otherwise identifying features. I did change names for the story. So yeah, so she was so mad when she saw this bag of pot that she took it and just emptied it like this and let pot fly everywhere in the wind. And I was taken aback because it was the first time I had seen pot that was not belonging to my mom's. Yeah. Oh, because I was like, wait, your parents are using heroin? Really? And I almost didn't believe it because in 1992, it sounded very far-fetched. Now you hear it, and probably kids hear it nowadays, and it's not as bad. But then that's when they called it snack, and they likened it to stuff like Sid and Nancy pretty much only. And that was the only public image that people had of heroin, and that was scary to me. And thank God they did a really good job with her regardless. She didn't lack for anything. She wasn't being emotionally abused or anything like that. They did still do a great job with her regardless. So I do got to give them credit for that. They did. And the parents were nice people. It was just that when the mom would come home from work, she would go straight into her bedroom with her husband and you never see them again until she came out at around maybe 11:30 midnight every night for that same bowl of vanilla ice cream, and nobody could touch that ice cream in the freezer. It was so funny to me because in my house there was never food that was off limits. Okay, Denise. Thank you. Thank you, Denise. Thank you. Love you. Thank you so much for helping me out. I appreciate you mounting for me. Thank you. So, yeah. Then after that, now that was in my mind because once I saw, like, okay, she managed to get her hands on weed and like there was no parents around, and I started saying to myself, maybe the same way that I take a few cigarettes from my mom's pack, I could just take some weed from her and she won't notice. But I knew better. I knew better even than to take from her stash. I took from her roaches, from her roach cup with all her roaches and rolled a roach joint because I figured she wouldn't notice that missing as much. And she didn't for a long time. Oh, I was at least 10 joints deep before she noticed it. But so, yeah, and I do remember the first time smoking with Nicole and my sister. I think it was in my house. It was first in my house, and then we used to hang out behind the sanitation department. It was like a yard, a junkyard, and we hang out back there. And so we started with weed and Zimas, drinking, hanging out in schoolyards and parks and stuff. And my parents were like, my mom was too cool, too cool. Whereas now, I feel like the rules that she had for me, I would never be so cool with my daughter, like never. I'm much stricter now, much stricter. I would never dream of allowing the stuff that she allowed. She was too cool. When I was 13, if I wanted to go out until 4 in the morning, she said, as long as you're able to wake up for school the next day and you go to school and you're out of this house at 8 o'clock, okay. And so as long as I could wake up for school without giving her a problem, she was okay with it. And so I made sure that I woke up, and whether I went to school or not was not really the issue, but I was definitely out of that house by 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock, I was out of that house. Yeah, usually not at school though. And so, yeah, me and Nicole really got into it um, by like 12 in seventh grade. We were experimenting with my sister and her boyfriend with acid. We were tripping out every weekend. Um, and it was crazy when you think about 12 years old, that that's what we were doing, you know? And to us, it was like almost a challenge because I remember somebody telling us that if you do acid 3 times in a row, then you're considered legally insane. And so me and her were like, well, what if you do it 6 times in a row or nine or 12? We're legally insane. Ha ha ha. So not to glamorize it, but I mean, it's kind of funny to think the 12-year-olds were doing this. It's like not funny. Not good. Not good, guys. Yeah, really, really sick. And I never once stopped to think, like, wow. I mean, oh, I did stop to think, honestly, and we had a lot of conversations about it. It's crazy to think that 2 12-year-old girls have these conversations about her parents. Yeah, about what the hell is going on with your parents. That's scary. Really scary stuff. So we did that, and we were tripping out every weekend. We'd do one night at my house, one night at her house, every Friday night. I think Fridays were her house and Saturdays was mine. And we did that for 2 years. And we had a good old time. We had a good old time with that. Yeah, many a nights I felt like I was going to have a nervous breakdown or a heart attack or something. But other than that, right, young and dumb. I know, but imagine 12. Like my daughter's going to be 13 next month. And like she would never entertain anything like that, but then she's different too. Oh yeah, I was wild, reckless flavor. To me it was like, oh, so that what's like the worst thing that I could possibly do, and that's what I wanted to do. I couldn't wait to lose my virginity. I couldn't wait. I felt like that was just going to be the coolest thing. It was going to be the bee's knees. And I rushed so much. Everybody said, "Oh, she's 13 going on 30." But I was 13 and I was doing coke on the weekends. Like that's sick. Who does that? And I was hanging out with a lot of people that were much older than I am, that never should have been hanging out with a person my age. Never. And now I look back and I'm like, wow, that was not okay. Those were adults. Yeah. I don't want to touch on that too much, just for the sake of anybody involved in the story. Um, I'm not going to delve into it as much as I might have, but I will say that a lot worse could have happened. A lot worse could have happened for sure. Um, but it was not okay. And adults should not have been hanging out with the child. I was 13. Yeah, so that was not cool. But there were some good guys in that group that really looked out for me and made sure that nothing totally bad ever happened to me. And I thank God for that. I thank God for that. Um, so me and Nicolette parted ways around 14, and that's when I started hanging out with these older people. And I really got into it. Oh, Ray Ray, I know. I know. I would like to, um, so I guess I'll find a way to do it so that I can protect the identity of people involved. Right. Because that is when I lost my virginity to an adult. Yeah. To an adult man who was 29 years old. And at the time, I thought it was the coolest thing in the world. And I did pursue him. He did tell me over and over and over again, no. And I pursued him, but, you know, it doesn't matter who pursued who. That was not okay. I thank God that the other guys in that group did protect me and look out for me, that it could have been worse. They could have tried to, you know, do lots of stuff to me. I'm trying to watch my words too. In the future, if I get monetized, I might not be able to monetize this video in particular, but that's okay. It was really important to me that I was able to share the story with you guys. And I'm sorry, I know that my voice is monotone, and I've actually been trying to work on it and improve my voice. I was researching what is a monotone voice and how to improve it, ways to work on a monotone voice. I struggle with that. I think it's an autism thing. So, yeah, he pursued me. Okay, hidden observer. See, I never really shame him in my mind because I know that he denied me and said no at least 15 times and I kept pursuing, but it doesn't really change things. I know. It's hard to believe that as an adult. I still oh, thanks, Flava Flea. Love you. I'm so glad you're here with me tonight. That means so much. My sister in recovery. How long you got clean, Flava? Flava's my sister in recovery. I know a lot of yous are. I have a lot of recovery warriors in here with me. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. It's oh thank you, hidden observer. It's hard to really place the blame. It's hard for me to place the blame, period, on others in a lot of things because I think 4 years, go Flava. Congratulations. Awesome. I know in the beginning I didn't think 4 days would be possible. I really didn't. I really didn't. God bless you too, Tim cried. Congratulations. Oh wow. Yeah. So that was like a relationship that was sustaining me and I allowed that to just take over my entire life, really from 14 to like 16. Um yeah, we had some weird kind of social life thing going on. Um we were going out to this gay club in Brooklyn because this guy was mostly gay. He was not straight. Um, I don't know if you call it bisexual or what, but he was not straight. So we were going to this gay club every it was every Thursday night, and pretty much all week long, every night we were hanging out in the park or wherever, and we just hang out till like maybe midnight and 1 in the morning. And these guys are, it's weird to me to think that they were smoking weed and drinking out in public in the park every night, but there were some really good guys in that group. Some of whom I'm even still friends with to this day. One of whom that I'm still friends with to this day, who always was extremely appropriate and looked out for me. One person that I will say, I do remain friends with. So yeah, everybody congratulate Flava. Awesome. Wow. Hidden observer, thank you for sharing that. Yeah. That's very similar ages. I was 13 and he was 29. Yeah. Right. And it was not okay. It was not. But to this day, it's like, oh, well, I take responsibility, you know. So we hung out for a couple of years and um, what did we do? We drank, we smoked a lot of pot, and we did coke a lot. We did a lot of coke. Yes, we did. That was his thing. And oh yeah, I even got carried away with it, which was weird. It was very weird. And I was able to hide it from my parents, which was also weird because I usually wasn't able to hide anything from my mom. But I would come home and she asked me and I would tell her I was drinking and she actually believed me. Unless she was just telling me she believed me. And maybe she knew the truth deep down and didn't want to admit it. I don't really know. That's a good one, right? She might have known. She might have known. Yeah. And so we did cocaine a lot, but I got carried away with it, but it wasn't like my thing. I knew like it just wasn't my thing. So that was kind of okay. But still my life all day, even when I was going to high school, which was only a few times probably, I must have went I'm sorry, it's a nervous laugh, but I must have went to high school maybe like less than 50 times, I think. I probably showed up in the place about 40 times. I don't know. It was less than freshman year. It was less than 1 year. And I remember towards the, like, I went for sophomore year and I went for the first day and I filled out those Delaney cards with the bubbles, the things that you bubble in those letters. And then I never went back. And my parents showed up on open school night and they said, I don't even know what you thought it looks like. Oh, my mom was so furious with me about that because I was leaving the house every morning still, walking away, la la la, and just going to hang out in the park or whatever. Yeah, I feel bad. I did put my mom through hell. And I don't know why she was so lenient with me. The thing is, her mom was really strict with her. Her mom was really, really strict with her. And she was also the oldest of 10 kids. So, with all those brothers and sisters, it was always my mom's responsibility to take your sister with you. And, she helped with dinner and she helped take care of all the other kids. She practically raised some of her brothers and sisters. So she said, when I have kids, I'm never going to be that way. I'm going to be the total opposite because my dad used to call her Cinderella when they first met as a joke because she was always cleaning and scrubbing the floors and just, it was not cool. My grandma totally used her. My mom had a lot of resentment against her mom. And she told me she thought her mother was horrible to her growing up. And so then I always had that resentment against my grandma, like, you evil bee, you treated my mom like this. Yeah. Anybody would have treated her like that. Yeah, I was so mad. This is just an e-cig, guys. It's not a weed vape. If it was, I would tell you. Wow. So yeah, there was high school. Like I said, I probably went there about 50 times total. I went for freshman year, and I did make a couple of friends too. I made one male best friend. One male best friend. We call him Jose, I guess, for the story's sake. We call him Jose. I had one male best friend, and it's so funny. I never found him again. I never found him. Once they came out with like social media and they came out with MySpace or whatever, and I always searched his name and I never ever found him. Even on Google, it's really weird. I can't find anything. I wonder to this day if he's alive or not. Um, so we'll call him Jorge. I hung out with him a lot. We became close, and we would cut school and smoke weed together. And there was one incident where we were drinking. We were drinking, geez, it was Johnny Walker. My goodness, I remember it. It was Johnny Walker Red Label, and it was the most disgusting thing in the world. So it was me and one other guy, and Jorge, we'll call him. And back then, we used to wear the Janko jeans. The people that I hung out with were like skaters or, whatever. And so it was the Jankos, super wide leg jeans with the wide bottom, and they would get frayed. And there was all these long threads on the bottom. So Jorge was sitting there stoned or whatever, and he's burning the threads on the bottom of his jeans, and his whole leg caught fire. His whole pant leg of his jeans caught fire. And it happened so quickly. He was using a Zippo lighter, and his pant leg caught flames. And um, we were like 15 at the time. So imagine a 15-year-old boy with his friend who's a female, probably was like reluctant to take down his pants even. And I remember I was panicking. I don't think I said stop, drop, and roll or drop to the floor or something. And I guess he took the pants down. I don't even remember, but he did burn his leg. He burned his leg. They had severe, severe third degree and second degree burn, or he had to go for like a whole month or even longer after to go to the hospital for them to do the debridement, and he would cry and scream, and he wasn't allowed to hang out with me anymore after that because he made up some story and told his mom that he was mugged at school, and then I had to go along with it, and I was so afraid to go along with that story, and his mom kept asking me what really happened, and I must have told her the truth. I don't even remember. I was so afraid to go along with the story because he wanted to file a police report saying that he was mugged in school and that they mugged him and what? Set his pants on fire. I remember telling him that's a ridiculous story. Like no one would even believe that. And he said that they mugged him for his beeper. Back then we had beepers. They mugged him for his beeper and what? Came at him with a lighter and set his pant legs on fire. The story is so unbelievable that when his mom called me, I definitely did tell her the truth. Yeah. That's how afraid of his mom that he was. That was traumatizing. And then he wasn't allowed to hang out with me anymore. And his mom moved him away to another state. And I didn't see him again as if I did something wrong. And I was like, I was at a loss because he was just my best friend, nothing more. But, I loved him. Yeah. I've always had one best friend at a time. And I felt like if I did something wrong, and really that's how things went down that day. And then I guess, I don't know, I couldn't go along with that ridiculous lie. Think for yourself. Hi. Oh my God. Hi. I miss you too. Thank you for joining me. Thank you. Welcome. You're always welcome here. Oh man. Hair was on fire. Oh shoot. Keep it real. Wow. Yeah, and I was upset over that because he was my only friend at the time. And after that, I think I stopped going to high school altogether then because I was just going really to see him, meet up with him around homeroom, and then leave. So then there was just no point to go back to school. And I remember hanging out behind the sanitation department and just smoking weed for the day. And what's so funny is that we didn't have phones, and I used to have a tape recorder that I would bring with me. A tape recorder, not even a boombox. It was a tape recorder, probably from the 70s, that I put my cassette tapes in and play them by myself. So that's sad, cutting school to sit in an alleyway and smoke pot by myself alone because I didn't really have a lot of friends. And then once Jorge was gone, there was just no reason for me to go back. I was only going there to see him along the lunchroom and leave. So it was like if I'm not going to pick him up and then blow school for the day, there's just no reason. So I just stopped going. And I told my mom that I was going to stop going. And, she told me that I had to go until I think the end of 10th grade. Like you have to, because if you don't, then they're going to be sending truancy officers to the house committee. Like you don't have a choice. And I didn't want to screw my mom like that. So she made a deal with me that if I would go until 10th grade, or at least pretend to go, I guess, and hide somewhere. She didn't say that, but I knew it. Yeah, I know. So I was like, okay. I basically had to leave my house every day for nothing, just to like sit around so that the police didn't find me. I just couldn't deal with it. It was, and then the funny thing is that I was in all honors classes, and I would show up. I showed up on the days. Oh, I might have been, but at the time I would have been too shy to act on it. I would have been too shy to act on it, and I was convinced that I wasn't his type. I know. I figured that if he was interested, he would have made the move. I mean, now if that was me now, and of course if I wasn't married or whatever, and I liked somebody, I would totally make the move now. But like then, I was like, I can't make the first move. I never would have. But he was my best friend, more than anything. Yeah. And so then I was like, oh, great. I have to like pretend I'm going to school every day, just get out of the house. And I would just sit there by myself and smoke and do whatever until it was time to go home. And then I would go home, and I started hanging out with another friend who was a woman who was also like kind of in the mix with that older crowd that I stopped talking to most of them. And now this was the time that I started to become confused about my sexuality. And it was a woman, and she was also about their age. So I think I was 26. I mean, I was 16 and she was about 26. And I was just confused at that point about everything. And she was a god awful alcoholic and a complete lunatic. Um, a complete lunatic. Uh, but of course, I got sucked right in. I got sucked right in. She when she talked, she would spin a web. You know what I'm saying? And I would get sucked into that web every time. And so, oh, I did get it. Hey, glam it up. Hey, girl. Hey, welcome. Welcome. I still got to catch the replay. I only caught half of it of your video, but I'm going to. I got it out. Yes. Thanks for being here, glam it up. Thank you. Thanks. Yeah. So I got really confused about my sexuality because I was like, needing that one person to just kind of be accepting of me and also just to kind of like lead me in my thought process. I was very much a follower. So if there was somebody that was a leader, it was a good match for me, you know. And yeah, no, she was a bad influence though. She was an awful alcoholic with a huge drinking problem. Think for yourself. Oh my God. You always had a special place in my heart too. Oh my God, thank you so much. You know that you were always like one of my favorite chatters. Always when I saw you, I would light up and throw so many hearts and be so happy. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yeah. So, there was that thing with her. And she ended up playing a really awful prank on me. She was a practical joker. And at the time, I was obsessed with Courtney Love. Loved Courtney Love. I loved Kurt Cobain more. I was a bigger Nirvana fan, and I will always put him above her. But I do love her also, and I don't think she did anything bad with that. I don't think she had anything to do with his DEACH, even though I've said that word a million times. Oh, thank you. So I loved Courtney Love, and I looked up to her as an idol. Okay, as sick and as sad as that is. When I was 16, I thought she was cool and groovy, and I wanted to be like her, right? So, and also I used to sing a lot. I still sing a lot, and I feel like my singing voice was comparable-ish to like hers, like Stevie Nicks, Melissa Etheridge, that deep raspiness that I could have going on if I want to. Candy Lane, hi. Hey, Candy Lane, welcome. Good to see you. Hey, girl, hey. Yeah, I was always a bigger Nirvana fan. Bigger Nirvana fan, yes. I loved Kurt Cobain, and I felt like he was just the most handsome man too. Yeah, totally. And I loved her too. So anyway, sorry, I get a little distracted, and I don't want to take forever, but there is a good bit of info. So thanks, guys. Yeah. So, this girlfriend person, I'm not even going to give her a name, honestly. This girlfriend person played a mean prank on me that there was a contest going on in the 90s, right? Must have been about 97 or 1998. I was about 17 years old, and it was called the Whole Celebrity Skin Contest on MTV. And my girlfriend decided it would be so hilarious to have one of her male friends call me on the phone, pretending to be Courtney Love's press secretary, saying that I've won the celebrity skin contest and I'll be going to Hollywood to meet Courtney Love and have a fabulous interview with her, and to give the info of who I would bring with me. Do you know why she wanted to do that to me? It wasn't to play a joke. She wanted to get me to say who I would bring along with me in the hopes that it would be her. And it never would have been her. I said I would bring my sister only my sister and no one else. And they said, oh, well, it can't be a relative. What about a friend? And I said, oh, well, I don't know if I can go then. She wanted me to say that I would bring her, I think, as my guest or something. I don't know. But it was very hurtful to me. So when days went by and I never heard back from anybody, I mean, I wasn't fully believing it on the phone. I'm not like stupid, but they did sound very legit and convincing. This is a person that did prank calls like professionally because they're just a drunk and have nothing better to do with their time. They always did prank calls. They were like really good at it. And I was also only 16 or 17, so the hell did I know? But I didn't fully believe it, but I didn't fully not believe it either. And part of me knew that if it was someone messing with me, obviously it was the girlfriend because I knew that she was notorious for stuff like that. I just didn't think she would do it to me because it's not funny. And then afterwards, I think about a week went by and I told her all about it. I told her all about it and I said, "Hell, I'm waiting for a call back from Courtney Love's press secretary." Yes, I did. And yeah, finally she confessed to me that it was a joke and ha ha ha. It was meant to be so funny and everything. And I was like, dude, that is not funny. That is hurtful. And I've had it. And we're not going to be friends anymore after this. And she was in disbelief, I guess, because I'm such a loyal friend that you would almost believe you could do anything to me and I would never leave your side. But that's not the case. I do have self dignity also. As loyal as I am, if you want to you take that loyalty for granted, you could just skip right along on your merry way then, but it'll be your loss, not mine. I guarantee you that. So skip away she did. And that, yeah, it was hurtful because there's no way that you could say that was meant to be funny. Because in which way, and is there any universe in which that might be funny to me? No, no, that's not something that you would do to your girlfriends or your friend. It's just mean. And I feel like the only reason she did it was to see if I would say that I would bring her along as a guest instead of my sister, who she was jealous of. Jealousy is an ugly thing, people. So that had to be the end of that with her. Um, that was hurtful and just ridiculous, right? But it was just as well because I was trying to help her so desperately, and and at the same time, I was just getting sucked in to a lot of like, um, I don't know, like she would get drunk and cry in her wine to me all night. And I was 16, so what the hell did I know? Right. Yeah, and so I did. Yeah, actually, my mom knew what happened. My mom gave me the ultimatum that I had no effing choice but to end it with her. She was like, if you are ever going to have any dignity or self respect as a woman, you are going to end it with her. Like, I forbid you to even talk to her. I mean, yeah, my mom basically made sure that I cut ties because she wasn't going to let me make a real idiot out of myself any further. Because that's the kind of good hearted slob that I am. I'll let you make an idiot out of me a million times because, I feel like I can give somebody so many chances, but there was just no reason for it. That was just meant to be hurtful. So that was messed up. And then I got her out of my life after that, which was good. I was about 17, and that was when I got my first job. You know, I am going to cam off just for 5 minutes, and I'm still going to talk, and then I'll just cam right back on. Sorry, 5 minutes. Okay. So, sorry, I just need a little off cammy cam thingy thingy. So, okay. Oh shit. Sorry, guys. Okay. Now, yeah, so I was glad when that ended. It needed to end. When I was 17, my first real job that I had, I mean, it was actually babysitting for my next door neighbor. My next door neighbor had 3 kids, and the youngest was like 5, but I think he was in school already. And then there was the middle one who was about 3, and then the baby who was only 3 months old. And she asked me if I could babysit for her 2 days a week, just 2 days a week for 8 hours a day. So for a 16-year-old, I had just finished, my run through high school, if you want to call it that. And I was starting to go to night school to get my GED. My mom made me that promise. She said, if you could do till 10th grade, then I'll sign you out of high school and I'll allow you to go get your GED at 16. Actually, I think I was 15, and I ended up getting my GED in January of 2000, which was about 6 months earlier than I would have gotten it had I graduated on time in June of 2000. So I did still do the right thing. And I always stayed in honors classes, even though I didn't go, because I would show up to take the test and I would still get like 95 because I would just read the book. I would read the books on my own time. I would skim through the textbook. And like with English, it was always second nature to me because I love to read and write. So babysitting was like my favorite job ever. It still is. It still is. Babysitting really got me in touch with my love of children and babies. And even then, I couldn't wait to be a mom. It's a good thing that I didn't try to have kids like when I was that age because I became so in love with taking care of them, taking care of that baby. She was a baby girl and she was only 3 months old. And I had already had a lot of experience taking care of my cousins. So I totally knew how to make bottles and sterilize everything and change diapers and even to give them baths. I had done it all already for my cousins. And I loved babysitting. I loved babysitting, and I knew for sure that I couldn't wait to be a mom. I knew that my life would not be complete if I wasn't able to have children. And I prayed to God that I would be able to. I did. I asked him, please let me be able to have children one day. I knew that I wouldn't be complete. I mean, God forbid, if I wasn't able to conceive, I probably would have looked into adoption, I guess, but we never could have afforded that. We can't afford anything. But I would have told my husband we have to do it, you know? Yeah, because I love kids so much. Babysitting definitely gave me a sense of myself, and I loved doing it while I was going to night school. So I was really batting 1,000 at the age of 16. And I got my So I went to night school. I made a few friends in night school too, actually. I made a friend, should we call her? We call her Jewel, I guess. Let's call her Jewel. And Jewel was cool. She was a goth girl. And when I met her, I had on a Nirvana t-shirt and she had, I think, Marilyn Manson. And I was like, oh, dude, we're going to be friends, you know? And we were, which was amazing just for me to make one friend that is legit and it's not based on anything but friendship. Like, it was always hard for me. And so Jewel was a friend. Yeah. Jewel was a friend that I screwed later on in life, honestly, and I shouldn't have. I did screw her over for a guy. That was so stupid of me. But I was only 18. But I still feel bad to this day. Jewel ended up getting me a job at Starbucks. She was so good to me. I needed after, so we went to night school. Oh, thank you. Just keep it real. Thank you, Glam It Up. Thank you. I love being a mom. That's my number one calling in life. That's my number one calling in life. Everything else is secondary. God chose me to raise her for him, for whatever reason. And I understand that she doesn't belong to me, she belongs to him. And it's my job on this earth to raise her into a good person and that she's going to create positive butterfly effect wherever she goes. In fact, also, I take that as a responsibility very humbly, I accept that responsibility very humbly, should I say. Thank you. Yeah. Right. It's true. Jewel was a good friend. And so I had gotten a job in a deli, in a diner, kind of a diner. And I was just working there, like taking orders and working the cash register. And I learned how to work a cash register. And I was so, so proud of myself, because back then it was where you had to actually count out the change and it didn't tell you the automatic amount to give them back. You would, have to actually count their change for them. And that was a huge responsibility, and counting out the register at the end of the day stressed me out so badly. But I did it, and I did really good at it. And my boss was extra understanding for me. Who knows? He might have known that I was a little bit different, that I had a different thought process or something. Maybe it is obvious. I don't know. But he was extra understanding with me. And I'll always be grateful to him too. So I had that job, and then my friend Jewel had gotten me the job at Starbucks, which was so fun, and I was so excited. Starbucks was like a brand new thing back then. Like I remember Britney Spears posing with the Starbucks cup and everything, and everybody was all ooh la la because it was a new trendy thing and stuff. And so I was really hyped to be working there. It's like now I am very cool. I definitely thought I was cool then. And oh wow, I'm glossing over my very, very first job, I think. I had the diner and then I worked at a place called Telco. I bet Sicilian Princess knows Telco. I used to work at Telco on 18th Avenue. And that's where I met my husband, actually. I was 18 when I met him. I was 18. I worked in the men's department. Telco is like a department store, kind of like a discount department store, not really like Target, like a discount knockoff Target. Like everything is cheap and it's all like men's wears, women's clothes, children's clothes, housewares, makeup, patio furniture. It was a big store, big discount department store. And I worked in the men's department, and that's where I met my husband actually. He shopped there regularly, I guess, and he came in and he was asking me to help him pick out a sweatshirt, a hooded sweatshirt, and he wanted it in burgundy. I remember the color, and we didn't have it in burgundy. And so I liked him and he looked familiar to me. And I was like, I'm gonna go check in the back, la la. And he was just making conversation and he's like, wow, you go so out of your way to help me. Thank you. And nobody else goes out of their way to help me like this. And we got to talking and I was like, you look so familiar. Do I know you from the neighborhood or whatever? And he was like, maybe from years ago. And I was like, no, I don't think so. And then he's like, well, I'll see you around. Yeah. Yeah, he was. Just keep it real. He was. And I was flirting back a little bit. And I was when I was 18, I was actually like dating a couple of guys, I think, at the same time for a little while. I might have been because there was a guy at Starbucks too that I was dating. And I felt bad because my friend Jewel had gotten me that job at Starbucks, and that was a guy that she was seeing too. And he was like cheating on his girlfriend at the time. And then I got involved. It was so wrong of me. I never would have done it in my later years, but I did it then and I regret it still. Come back on camera. Yeah. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Think for yourself. I never would have done it in my later years because Jewel was like a true friend to me, and I messed that up over a guy because I loved the attention when I was 18. I wasn't used to getting it. Um, I was, I guess, a little heavier when I was younger, when I was like between 15 and 17. And then when I was 18, I was like slimmed down and I got the job and I just felt like I was hot stuff all of a sudden. And I let that go to my head and I messed up a good friendship too. And that was the start, I guess, a lot of things of separating myself from other females because I felt like, I don't know. I felt like, what did I feel like? I'm trying to think of the right description of how I came to like separate myself. It was after that, right? So I had the job at Starbucks. Oh, right. And that didn't work out. I got fired from that job. I got fired from that job. And the manager told me that I was hindering their efficiency because I was slowing things down, and which is very possible. I do work very slowly, and I was trying my best, right? But in my mind, I was so completely insulted by that. I was like, hindering your efficiency. What? Oh, Tuesday. Thank you. I'm not sure if any of my mods have it. Actually, it's on my community page. I did make a community post with my Amazon wish list. It's on a community tab, but I'm not sure if my mods have the link. It is on my community tab. Thank you, Tuesday. Thank you so much. Yeah. My Cash App is $ Midnight Mama 82. And my wish list is on my community tab. I didn't post it. I'm sorry, guys. But any tips or donations would be so greatly appreciated, but never ever expect it. You can check out my community tab for that. Thanks, guys. Next time I go live, I'll pin my link for my wish list and my Cash App at the top. Thanks. Thank you. Yeah, so it's okay if you can't. It's on my community tab. Thank you. Oh, thank you so much, Kira. Thank you. Thank you. So, where was I getting at? I'm getting it to be around 18, 19, right? So I met my husband and sorry. I met my husband and that was when I was working at Starbucks and then I got fired. And I felt like as if they fired me on purpose because like that guys at the job were flirting with me and I was distracting them and I was like, this manager is jealous of me. And it was horrible. It was a horrible teenage breakdown, really. I was just like, everybody's jealous and this and that and all this stuff. And it's just like now it's funny because I know like, dude, that was not the case, Tara. But when you're younger and you're so used to like when your mom raises you and like she's just jealous, you know. For shizzle, no. Is for shizzle in here? Hi. Hi, welcome for shizzle. Oh my god, I missed you. Ah, you're another one. Of course, my eyes fill up the second I see you. But Shizzle, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. I missed you so much, and I'm so glad that you feel welcome and safe here. That means the world to me. Welcome. I missed you, Shizzle. Thank you. Oh, thank you. I missed you. Thank you so much. I'm so happy that you guys feel welcome and safe here. I hope that all of my friends, even the ones who are not chatting or joining me, if anybody sees a Miss B somewhere in chat, a Miss B, B-E-E, I have a real life friend who was supposed to be joining me tonight. And I told her that I would make her a mod on my channel so that I could help promote and grow her channel, guys, so that we could drop her link. But I don't see her. If you see a Miss B come in here, you could let me know, guys. If you could let me know. But Shizzle, I miss you. How are you? It's so good to see you. Oh, Bell Bell, thank you. That's exactly what I was hoping for. And I feel like it's working. Grateful. Thank you, guys. Okay. I didn't know if I could this whole time, honestly. I didn't know where I would stand. Thank you for that. I love you. Thank you. It means so much to me. I hope that Lisa C is watching. Thank you. Oh, please, thank you. Oh my God, you guys. You guys are so awesome. Seriously. To have somebody like me to be comfortable on YouTube, trust me, it's like next to impossible. I had such bad social anxiety. I couldn't do a phone call a few months ago. I couldn't. And it was from social anxiety. Seriously. Crazy. Thank you. Thank you so much. You guys are awesome. If I didn't have people making me feel comfortable, I never would be able to do this. Thank you. Thanks so much. So yeah, I met my husband. I was around 18, 19. And then I got fired from Starbucks and I threw a whole teenage hissy fit of everyone is jealous of me. And, you know, it's hilarious now when I look back. Even he says to me, it was funny the way I was so convinced that everyone was jealous. Thanks, Tuesday. Shizzle, I love you. Thank you for being here. Think for yourself. Thank you. Oh my God. Thank you, guys. Um, yeah. So let's see. I met my husband when I was 19. I had my whole breakdown of everyone is jealous of me. And yeah, so he was working as a stagehand at the time in the entertainment industry. And he was doing lighting. He was doing stage lighting for concerts and different performances. And it was a freelance work. So there were times when he had work like every day for a couple of weeks in a row, and then there were times when he has no work at all. So during the times when he had no work at all, he would have money, and we would get together every single night and hang out at his house and party. And but basically, it was just weed and drinking. But I did get very carried away with the drinking in the beginning. But I was young. I was young, and I got carried away with the drinking, but nothing too bad. And then even like 2021, I started having some bad depression. That was when I had bad depression for almost, God, it was over a full year that I was in depression, that I can count the number of times I left my house on one hand. So in one year, I might have left the house about 4 times that year. No joke. I didn't leave the house. My mom had to force me to take a shower like twice a week, you know. Like, Tara, you got to take a shower at least say Wednesday and Saturday. Gotta. And then sleeping, all I wanted to do was sleep, where it was a battle to keep me awake. I would wake up at like 3 in the afternoon, and then by 11 o'clock at night, I'd be wanting to go to bed. And my mom was like forcing me to hang out late with her. And she'd be like, smoke a joint and watch Roseanne with me. And my mom would smoke with me, smoke pot with me even. and just be like, we could hang out, we could eat some snacks, and maybe you want to watch a movie, you could watch like The Wizard of Oz and have some candy, like trying to show me anything of like enjoyment to think that life is worth it because I wasn't feeling any pleasure in life. I even told my mom I no longer enjoy my food because everything tastes the same. And she's like, "What do you mean?" And I was like, "Nothing even has flavor anymore. Everything is just a waste of time, like chewing on cardboard." And she's like, "You gotta be kidding me." And it was true. None of my food even mattered. And I am a food lover. I mean, I'm a real food lover. Yeah, like I'm overweight for very good reason. It's not a mystery to me. Right. I'm a food lover. So much so I would rather have my food in copious amounts than to have a perfect figure. The perfect figure doesn't matter to me. As long as I'm healthy, I'm okay with it. Yeah, I've been most comfortable at around a size 12 or 14 in life. And I've been every size in between a 2 and a 22. Around a 13, 14, I'm most comfortable. But I was in such bad depression that even I couldn't get on the phone with my boyfriend, with my husband now. I couldn't get on the phone just enough to maintain our relationship. So I would beg my mom to take phone calls for me and just say, like, hey, Vin, she's doing all right, watching Roseanne or whatever. And, she just wanted me to get on the phone and say hi. And she'll try to talk to you tomorrow. And she just did that to touch base all the time. Yeah. I'm going to take some questions at the end. Thank you. Hey, Bootsy, I'm going to take questions at the end, guys. Yeah. You can feel free to post questions so as we go, and I'll try to scroll up. Thank you. So, yeah, 20 to 21 was major depression. And for some of it, I didn't drink even. I started taking anti-anxiety meds. That was when I went to a doctor psychiatrist and they diagnosed me with bipolar disorder. And honestly, it was not the best thing to ever happen. It was one of the worst things to ever happen. When I got diagnosed with bipolar disorder is when they put me on meds, including Klonopin. And honestly, I had already taken Klonopin before as a teenager just to get high on occasion, like it was offered to me or in some rare circumstance. It wasn't a regular thing, but I was offered it and I had taken it before. So when they offered that to me at 19, especially I was reluctant to go for help. My boyfriend, who's my husband now, and my mom pretty much staged an intervention because my depression was so bad that they both kind of said to me, like, if you don't go and get some kind of help, I think he said, I'm going to break up with you. I think my mom made him say he was going to break up with me if I didn't get help because I wasn't getting out of bed. Like I couldn't function. And I was only 20 years old and massive depression for no reason, for no real reason. Oh, thank you, bona fide user. Thank you so much. It's my hope that my story can get out there and hopefully speak the right message to the right people that are ready to receive it. Um, so there was a lot of alcohol and depression and confusion. My mom managed to keep that relationship going, thank God. And I got through with Roseanne, really. Watching Roseanne got me through and smoking weed. Um, and then I started drinking a lot again, drinking wine from a box, which was awful. The boxed wine for like $11, but it's 5 gallons, I think, in a bag inside of a box, and then it comes out in a pump. And so I was drinking so much that it became regular second nature to me, where now I was drinking every day. I would wake up and have my coffee. And then about 1 hour later, after I got out of the shower, then I would allow myself to start drinking. Because I said, well, as long as I have my coffee and a shower first, it's still kind of normal. And I did that. Thank you. Thank you. Sorry, guys. I'm going to take a minute to kind of gather my thoughts up here and there. Um, So then around 22, I started drinking very, very heavily. Okay. Um, very, very heavily. Where now, after I woke up, I had my coffee, I had a shower, and it was off to the races. And every night I was up until at least 3, 4 o'clock drinking. And it got to the point where I would drink so much every night that I really wasn't even getting drunk anymore. Like I was drinking, it had to be the equivalent to 12 glasses of wine per night. And I wasn't even stumbling or throwing up or anything anymore. I was just like hanging out regular, barely even feeling anything. And so then I switched liquors. Then I switched liquors. So I said, all right, the wine isn't doing it anymore. And I switched to Bacardi. And I switched to Bacardi, and that did get the job done. Yeah, that did got the job done for sure. Um, I was drinking Bacardi and Diet Coke. Thank you, number one. You can time comments out if they're disrespectful with your own judgment, babe. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yamasushi Roll. Hey. Thanks for joining. I haven't seen your name in chat in a while. It's good to see you. I miss you. I recognize a lot of these names that I haven't seen in months. Wow. It makes me feel terrible because I feel like you guys haven't felt safe to come around in other chats. I'm so sorry if anyone felt that way. And I'm going to be working to change that diligently. Hi. Welcome. It's so good to see you. I missed you. I used to see you so much and not anymore. Block them all. No, I don't think I have anyone blocked, but I'll go back after and check. All right, let me take a minute to regroup. We're just at switching liquors, right? Yeah. A lot of yeah, so we switch liquors. We get to the Bacardi, and now at 22, I'm drinking heavily every night. And that was around the time that my mom found out that she was sick with stage 4 lung cancer. And I heard her find out about it on the phone before she told me. I feel so guilty that I knew before she was ready to have me know. But I was in the bedroom and I heard her on the phone. I heard her talking about it. And then I saw her notes that she wrote down saying stage 4 lung cancer. And she wrote it down on a note, probably thinking I wouldn't see it, I guess. And so then I even heard her on the phone, my aunt, contemplating how and when she was going to tell me. And I got so messed up over it that I didn't want her to tell me. So she didn't know that I knew. I never told her. I never told her that I knew. I didn't want her. I didn't want to know before she wanted me to. I didn't want to know at all. Once I found out that she was planning on telling me, I did everything I could to make it where there was almost an impossible opportunity to have to sit down with me. I started running from her, like on purpose. I was going out with my boyfriend on purpose every single night and then coming home at like 5 a.m. and going straight to bed. I was avoiding her. I said, I'm going to make it where she never has an opportunity to have that sit down with me. And I knew it was coming and I was dreading it. And then one day she came in my room and said, I want to sit down on your bed and talk to you. And I was like, God damn it. No, like, because I knew what she was going to say. I already knew it. I already knew it. And so she came in my room and said, Tara, I got to tell you something. The doctor diagnosed me with stage 4 lung cancer and he gave me 6 months to live. And so she said, let's not try to, I was right away to jump to there's miracles, there's ways we can fight it. And she was like, Tara, please, like, understand that this means I have 6 months left, And I was like, oh my God, no, I could not accept it. I wish that I could have. I always wish to this day that I could have, but I was too young. I was only 23 and I was drinking so, so heavily. And then once I found that out, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Once I found that out, I decided that no, it wasn't going to be the case and it wasn't true. And I started getting into it with all these TV televangelists. And I didn't have money, of course, but I was mailing them money and everything. One of them was Peter Popoff. If you remember Peter Popoff Ministries, I became obsessed with Peter Popoff Ministries and the Miracle Spring Water. I was really losing it. He sent me the Miracle Spring Water, and I was sending him $7 and then $17 and begging for a miracle. Come to find out, of course, that was all BS, and he's like a big scammer. None of it's true, in my opinion, allegedly. In my opinion, allegedly. I became obsessed with Peter Popoff Ministries, and I got the Miracle Spring Water, and I told her I believed it could heal her, and like how so many of these cancer deaths, or like because people will hear that and they'll accept that that's what's going to happen to them. Oh, I'm a sushi roll. I'm sorry. I was 23 when I lost mine. I'm sorry. Yeah, that was the hardest thing that I had to go through for sure. Um, and was learning how to live without her. Yeah. So I drank so heavily for that time. My sister came in the house to take care of my mom. I became so resentful against my sister because we hadn't had the best relationship before then. It was very strained. And I felt like, how dare you try to come in and take over? And meanwhile, I couldn't do it because I was so wasted, drunk, and I just couldn't deal with it at all. And of course, I always look back on that time and I do regret it. I definitely regret that. If I could change anything, I would change those 6 months so that I could be present for my mom and actually get to have like those last talks with her. I never had any last talks with her. She tried to have last talks with me and I wouldn't have it. I wouldn't have it. I couldn't believe that it was happening and I couldn't I couldn't accept it. And I know that my mom understood me better than anybody in the world. I hope that I didn't hurt her by not being able to have those last talks with her, but I couldn't do it. And she knows that I couldn't do it. Yeah. Oh, Flavor, thank you. Number one, thank you. Yeah. Sorry to everybody who's lost loved ones. Yeah. Condolences to everybody who's lost someone close to them. You know, I mean, I was totally lost then and so doctors gave her 6 months to live, and 5 months later she passed away. And it was just as well. It was a lot of suffering, a lot of suffering, and she was crying a lot towards the end. It was bad. She was ready to go. At her funeral, we had the song "My Sweet Lord" by George Harrison played. That was what she wanted. My husband was there by my side. He was my boyfriend then, and I remember looking at my dad and wanting to see him cry, and he didn't. And I was upset because he didn't cry. I don't know. I felt I wanted him to cry. I wanted to see him break down too, and he didn't. So I lost my mom, but she's never lost. She's always with me. I know that she's always with me, and I named my daughter after her. I named my daughter after my mom. So yeah, she never met my daughter. I had my daughter after she died, but hopefully she sees her. Thank you. Yeah. So my mom passed away when I was 23. I kept drinking very heavily, and my boyfriend was really there to support me so much. He was so there. Hey, Jacoby. Thank you. Welcome. Thank you. Welcome. I'm glad you're here. So learning how to go on, I didn't think that I was ever going to be able to go on. I was so convinced that like, my life was going to end then, that it was almost incomprehensible to think of my life going on while hers was ended. It just didn't make sense. I was like, how could she not be living and walking on this planet, but I am? It still feels weird sometimes. And I do have to believe that one day we will be reunited, walking on this earth together. And I believe it, you guys. I believe it. And that wasn't instilled in me by my Catholic religion. It was instilled in me from Jehovah's Witnesses, actually, doing Bible study with me. That was how I came to believe it. How they said how our loved ones will walk the earth with us again on a paradise earth, and how all of the wild animals will be tamed, and you could pet the lions and they won't bite, and all of our loved ones are going to be walking on this earth with us again, and that we would have the opportunity to be saved, I guess. And I don't know, I love that theory, so I'll definitely rock with it. I thought that was beautiful. So yeah, I know that I will be. I have to believe it. I have to believe it, that we will all be reunited with our loved ones again, that it's never goodbye, that God would not have created it to be that way. And I believe that. God wouldn't have done that. I don't think. He wouldn't have. Our souls are going to be, reunited forever. I mean, our souls are bound. what they say, the invisible red string. That I feel that even if she wasn't my mom, our souls would have been intertwined anyhow. It's funny, yeah. With that invisible red string, we were bound to each other. If anybody's ever read the book, The Four Agreements, I don't remember the author to give credit to, but if anyone knows, if you could please drop it. The book is called The Four Agreements, and it talks a lot about soul connections and soul promises, I think, about soul promises, promises that you make with another soul on the other side before you come to this earth or something like that. And how it doesn't have to always be a family member. It could be that, like, my mom and I were bound by this soul agreements, this soul contracts they talk about, soul contracts. We had a contract to fulfill to one another on this earth that was made in like a heavenly realm, and it's far out. But if any of you guys haven't checked it out, the book is called The Four Agreements, and it talks about soul contracts, and it's really interesting stuff. I would highly recommend it. Another book that I would recommend that I read in recovery is called um, a complete, oh shoot, what was it? I think it's called A Conversation with God. Oh no, it's called Conversations with God, a complete collection, and it's volumes 1 and 2. Conversations with God, when then the two dots, a complete collection, volumes 1 and 2. And this is a really awesome book. I'm gonna try to link it in the description box after this for you guys. I'm gonna try to find the link for The Four Agreements and to Complete Conversations with God. Um, so I'm gonna cam off just for 2 minutes. Sorry. Okay. So yeah, I'm gonna link those two books. Those are two books I would highly recommend. Now, so 23, I lost my mom and I was drinking so heavily, and I almost had to like kind of step away from even my relationship with my boyfriend, who my husband now, who was so supportive of me, and I was such an ass to him that I felt like I needed to find some girlfriends of my own age to hang out with. And also, it was for a very specific reason that I needed girlfriends and not a boyfriend to come over. I needed girlfriends to come over to my house for a specific reason. And that was because 5 months after my mom died, my dad got a girlfriend. And my parents were married for 31 years. They were married for 31 years, never any cheating on any part that I've ever been aware of. And I think I would have known about it because my mom told me everything. And I find it extremely weird that 5 months later, my dad got a girlfriend, not just got a girlfriend, but moved her into the house, moved into our house where I was still living. I was living at home. I had never moved out. I had never moved out. I was 23 living at home. My mom dies, and 5 months later, my dad gets a girlfriend and moves her in. So my life was really, really like messed up. And I felt like I needed to have someone there with me in the house on my side. Like he had the girlfriend, who, of course, I couldn't stand the sight of her. And she was opposite of my mom. I felt like she was so much beneath my mom. Like my mom was so much classier and elegant, which she was. And this woman was very different than my mother. But everybody's different. Everybody's not going to be everybody's cup of tea, and takes all different types to make the world go round, right? Different strokes for different folks and whatnot. So I get it. Oh, let me sushi roll. You have to admit that passed. Holy crap. That is so weird. Because honestly, I couldn't believe that this was some woman that he just met. I couldn't believe that because it was too fast. And so I kept questioning, did you ever cheat on my mom? And I guess I'll never know the real answer to it. I have to assume no, just for my own sanity. But 5 months is really quick to meet someone else and move them in after a 31-year marriage. I feel as if he must have previously known this woman at least to move her into our home. So I felt like I was being kicked out of my house because, of course, I wasn't, but I didn't feel comfortable there, and she was sleeping over, and it was just awful. So, like, I needed someone there with me, and I wasn't allowed to have my boyfriend sleep over because he's only 8 years younger than my dad, number one. So that's weird. And number two, I was never allowed to have a male sleepover ever. Not even my best friend Jorge, Jose, whatever I put his name as. Sorry. So like I never would have been allowed to have a male sleepover, even my boyfriend. And then with my dad having the girlfriend sleepover, I had to have someone there with me. So I ended up making a girlfriend. I actually met her online, and that was very unheard of back in the day. I think it was through MySpace, something similar to that, right? And she wasn't someone I normally would have been with, no. But to me, looks don't matter. Looks don't matter to me, and it's what's inside that counts. And she was not a looker, but she was a very good-hearted person, and she was there for me as a friend, which is what I needed at the time. And yeah, it did turn into more, but that was very misleading for her because I was still with my boyfriend at the same time, and I was just trying to like kind of play both sides while also keeping the peace at home, and it was just like weird. So, I mean, she knew that I was still with my boyfriend, but like, I felt bad. She would lie to her friends and say that I wasn't just so that she didn't look bad because, she was gay, but I was not. I used to consider myself bisexual, but I think that I was very confused about my sexuality and um, just looking for acceptance. Nowadays, I would certainly consider myself straight, yes, because I don't really necessarily have that attraction at all to other women. I think I was just in a very lonely place and looking for acceptance. And also, I needed a person who was female at that particular point, and I had already done it before, and it is what it is, right? So who knows? I might be bisexual, but I guess at every point, every bisexual has to pick a side, kind of in a way, unless if you're going to have a polygamous relationship. There are plenty of poly relationships, but that was never going to work for me. But if you're not going to be poly, then you're going to have to pick one or the other eventually if you want to settle down. Or you could always just be single and date both, I guess. But I wanted to settle down, and I wanted to settle down with my husband for sure. I knew from very early on that we were going to be married and have kids together. I just knew it, and so did he. But she was a good friend to me when I needed it, and she didn't take advantage. If anything, I took advantage of her because she was gay, and I really wasn't. But she was a good friend to me, and she helped me through that time because I told my dad, like, you can't say that I can't have a girlfriend sleepover, right? I mean, I get it. I can't have my boyfriend sleepover, but a friend, a girlfriend. So I would have her sleepover. I'll call her Alice. So I would have Alice sleepover on nights my dad had his girlfriend there. And it just made the whole situation more bearable. Oh yeah. Yeah, there's lots of poly couples that do it. I mean, if it works for you, then that's great. It wouldn't have worked for me. It just wasn't going to work out for me. It was just too much stress and everything. Yeah. Oh, I think so too. I think so too. Men and women both. Absolutely. But she was there for me during that time and just made it a lot more bearable. Thank God. And so I was drinking so heavily that we stayed together for about 2 years. And she had a group of friends that were all my age. So it was new and different for me to be hanging out with people in my own age group because I was used to only hanging out with older people, which now I find out is also something that's very common in people who have Asperger's. Right. I couldn't do poly either. I just couldn't. If I was dating, I could, but not to settle down, like. Yeah. And so, like, I was drinking very, very heavily for those 2 years when I was with her. And, like, the only way that I could have figured out how to end that relationship and ever move forward was to stop drinking. And I realized that, like, one day I realized that, okay, because the relationship just kept going. Whereas I kind of wanted to end it about a year in, I think, because I wanted to, like, fix things with my boyfriend. We were still together, we were still together, but I didn't want to keep doing him like that. I knew it was dirty and I wanted to, you know, be faithful to him and work things out. And I couldn't do it while I was drinking. And while I was drinking, I couldn't figure out how to end things with her. Oh, yes. Oh, yes, I am now. Yeah, 7 years now. I only smoke pot, but that's it. 7 years. Yeah. Oh yeah, I am. Thank God. By the grace of God. Oh yeah. And so like I stopped drinking, I think in a way, so that I could get the clarity to end that relationship. I had to end it and I knew that I couldn't if I was drinking, yeah. And honestly, I think we ended up going to church together one day on Ash Wednesday. And I said, you know what? I'm going to get the ashes on my head. And this year for Lent, I'm going to give up drinking alcohol. For 40 days, I'm going to give it up. And that was like a first ever. And I said, I think I'm going to try it. And like, I remember 17 days in is when I realized, like, wow, I might have had a drinking problem because things were just so much clearer and better. Everything was better. I was having like gusto for life again. And I was like, okay, I think I had a drinking problem. And so at the end of 40 days, I can't go back to drinking. I remember 17 days on in, I realized that. And it was funny, I did give it up for Lent and with the intention that hopefully I'd be able to sort my mind, and just like get these thoughts in order so that I could do what I had to do. And I did. I don't know how I did, but I did. And I ended up doing online AA meetings. And online AA meetings were very helpful to me because, like I said, I have trouble forming friendships and keeping friendships. So to talk to somebody online, it's just like easier for me. I'm able to do the texting and stuff and communicate, whereas I'm not able to like do the phone calls and the real life stuff. So I did AA online and that helped. And then I started taking pills, and that was when things really just that was when everything really took a downhill turn. The Klonopin was introduced to me when I was 19 by the psychiatrist, and I abused it from the get go. I could never take it the right way. But after that, I was kind of okay with the alcohol. But once I got into it with the pills real bad, that was it. So my dad's girlfriend, who we're still with to this day, they're still together. So I kind of say she's my stepmom, but they are still together. So she turned out to be a good enough lady. She's good to my daughter and she's good to him. So, I can't say anything bad about her. She did turn out to be good and they are still together 16 years later. So, yeah, there's that, I guess. She's good. But of course, I always had that resentment. It's hard to get over. But so she actually started giving me pills at one point to help me stop drinking. In her head, she said that she knew a lot of people that used to go to these AA meetings, and a lot of times they would take painkillers and it would help them. And I knew that I loved pills because I would get them prescribed to me, and I always overused, misused, and everything else. So, whoa, oh snap, sorry. That's kind of oh, sorry. Um, Yeah, that was where things got really bad. So I'll kind of like speed things up towards the end of it. I'm going to speed up the end of this because I'm almost at 2 hours and I'll just keep going forever. Things got really bad for me with the pills. That was when things took a massive turn. You know, so I got into it with painkillers and I found out the way to get them. And I started going to pain management doctors and seeking them out. In addition to going to my psychiatrist and getting all the psych meds and stockpiling them and buying, selling, and trading, I would get my prescription and buy or sell or trade. I would be like, all right, so I have 90, so maybe I could sell 40, and then I'll be left with 15. And the next day, I would need money again, so I'll sell like 20. But now I'm out of them, so I have to just rebuy them for more money than I sold them for. I would end up selling all of them and then rebuying them for even more. I would sell, I would trade, I would everything. I started trying to do doctor shopping, but I wasn't really good at it. And then I would just beg friends or acquaintances or even family members to fill prescriptions for me to go to a doctor, to go to a specific doctor, the same one that I went to, and give specific symptoms, and that they would get certain scripts and give it to me, and I would sell and trade. And I was always selling flavor. Wasn't that the worst? I used to sell my whole scripts only to buy them back 2 days later at double the price. How's that for friggin' stupidity? I would sell almost the whole script and then 2 days later buy them back for almost double the price. And I had people going to the doctor for me, and yeah, the pills were just like, and that was all the rage, It had to be so like, say 2009. This was in 2009. Yeah, please. Oh my God. And if I had people that I could send to the doctor and they can get scripts and they didn't take them, that was just, oh yeah. So the pills, it was fun for a little while. It was fun just for the first few months. And then I started noticing how I just wasn't really feeling anything anymore and had to take more and more. And that was when the Roxys were coming to be. The I don't know if they were pressed pills back then or what, but I know now a lot of them are pressed pills that are manufactured with fentanyl in them. The Roxys were a thing, and oh, it was really just bad. I was getting prescriptions, selling half of them, trying to buy them back, or trading. It was really just so bad. And then, like, if I didn't have stuff for the next day, my whole next day was shot. I was not going to do anything. And I would fight so bad with my husband, so bad that I put this poor man through so much you wouldn't believe. And then in 2010, I stopped drinking and I was clean and sober. And I was taking pills in the beginning. And My boyfriend's mom was sick with Alzheimer's, and I had moved in to help take care of her. And I was, kind of sober-ish at the time. I was going to meetings, but I was taking pills. But I was working the program at the same time, although not the right way, of course. I did go through the steps. Um, I did do a very thorough fourth step. I did a lot of work, but I was still using pills, so it didn't really count for much. Um, And then I moved in with him to help take care of his mom who had Alzheimer's. And about a month later was when I realized that I hadn't had my period in 3 weeks. And I said, Vin, I think I'm late for my period. And I used to always take pregnancy tests, like neurotically all the time. I had taken at least 100 pregnancy tests in my life before this. I always thought I was, and I wasn't. And I was like, Vin, I'm really late for my period, like really late. Not like a week late. I swear to you, I think it's been like 2 weeks since I've had it. And he was like, no. And I was like, I swear to you, I think I'm like 22 days late. And I bet if I asked him, you remember, I was like 22 days, I swear. And I don't know how I didn't think of it for all that time, but I did. I was like, I'm really late. And he got a pregnancy test like the 100th time. And I took it that night and it said positive, and it lit up like a Christmas tree with the two red lines. And honestly, that was all I've been hoping for like my whole life. I hoped to be pregnant from when I was so young that it was a good thing I didn't get pregnant. Uh, and so I was 26 or 27, yeah. And yeah, the test was positive. And I called him in the bathroom. I was like, Vin, come look. And he's holding the box, turning it upside down and everything. And he's like, what? No, no, thinking I'm wrong. I was like, no, Vin, trust me. I've taken this test 100 times before. Trust me, I know it. And I made him get another one. And he went back and got like three more. And every single one lit up like a Christmas tree with those two bright red lines. And I was freaking ecstatic. I was so ecstatic. And he was like, babe, you know, what are you going to do? And I was like, what? What am I going to do? It's like, I know you're not asking me. Like, what am I going to do? It's like, Tara, you're going to have to stop any kind of thing with the pills. It has to stop immediately. I was like, oh my God, I know. I was like, what am I going to do? Of course, we're going to have a baby. I'm going to stop everything. And I did. I did. I stopped everything that night. I stopped the pills and I stopped for 9 months easily, too. Easily. I don't know how I stopped easily. I did pray to God and ask Him to let me view things, let me understand that my body right now, it's not my own and it's being rented out. Right now, my body's being rented out to incubate a baby. I have to hatch this baby in my belly safely, and then I could do whatever the hell I want to my body again. Hey, real angel girl. Hi. Thanks for joining me. And I convinced myself, like, dude, your body is not yours right now. There's a beautiful, healthy little baby inside. And It's just not yours. It's being rented. It's being rented for use. Aw, thanks, Bootsy. It's much better. I got it out and it's totally better. Thank you. Thank you. It's so better. I use artificial tears drops too. I got it out. Thanks. Thank you. Yeah, I was so happy, and thank God, just took that urge from me, legit, 100% during my pregnancy. I didn't even have the urge at all. I was happier than I've ever been my whole time that I was pregnant, glowing, so happy. And I secretly did wish for a girl, and I didn't think I'd get one. I thought God would give me a boy because he can't give me everything that I wanted. And then secretly, I wished that she would have my blonde hair and his blue eyes and all this stuff. And she came out just perfect, just exactly. I used to tell my husband we couldn't have genetically engineered her to be perfect if we had tried. And I actually totally mean it. Like if they said, here's a whole lab and you could pick out everything for your daughter, everything exactly as you want her. I never could have made her any better than God did. He just did perfect with that. That's why she was a one and done. I didn't have any more and probably not gonna. Yeah. So I was ecstatic. I was so happy. And I said, oh, I hope to God I don't need an emergency C-section. That was my worst fear. So of course it happened. Well, it's so horrible. A lot of my worst fears have happened. But it helps you to be brave, I guess. It does help you to be brave, but it makes you worse when you think about your worst fears again in the future because you're like, oh my God, is that going to happen too? Oh, thanks, Caldell. Thank you. I couldn't have made her any more perfect, I don't think. Thank you so much. And so that was all I wanted. And the first year that I had her, I was so ecstatic, so over the moon happy. I had the emergency C-section. She had the cord double wrapped twice around her neck, so she couldn't descend. And so they had to do an emergency C-section, and she was born perfect, beautiful, healthy. Thank you. And uh, they sent me home with the prescription for Percocet, and of course I did take it because I needed it for pain. But I did get a refill on it, and then after that refill, when there was no more, I refilled it on my own through the street. I did. And even though I was so happy that first year, I was still continuing to pop pills every day. I went home with a prescription and I never stopped. So I felt like my body was not mine for 9 months, and I didn't use while I was pregnant because I felt like I couldn't. And then afterwards, when I was able to use and I felt like that it was giving me more energy and more focus, and I was like, it's just making me a better mom in my head. I was like, this gives me the energy to sterilize all the bottles and do whatever I got to do and get by in a couple of hours of sleep. And I don't know, they were working on me, giving me energy a lot in the beginning and not bringing me down. And I was just zooming all over, cleaning and sterilizing and everything nonstop. And I was great at it and I loved it. But I could have done it without those pills. I wish that I had. I could have. I know now that I could have. I know now that I could have. But back then I felt like I wasn't going to be able to. I felt like as if that I needed them to give me that extra energy and that they were like helping me to be a better mom that's so sick. I really did believe that I was better when I was on them. And that like I needed less sleep and that I felt even my focus was better and that yeah, that it was just helping me. And so that went on for a year, kind of like without a lot of problems because I was getting so many prescriptions and stuff that it wasn't really like a massive problem until I couldn't get them, you know. Once I started having problems getting them or being able to afford the pills that I needed off the street in order to make up the difference, once the amount wasn't lasting me at all anymore. Whereas, like, I would have a prescription that would last me maybe 10 days. Now it was lasting me five. And now 25 days out of the month, I was scrambling to fly off the street. So it was not manageable at all anymore. It was manageable for a long time. I thank God that it was not. Things have to get unmanageable. Absolutely. I'm actually a huge advocate for tough love and interventions and how sometimes you have to say that I can't talk to you, I can't help you, and I can't get on the phone with you or anything until you get help. I think sometimes that you got to do that. unfortunately, I think it's the only way. It was the only way for me. If everybody around me had coddled me and never gotten tough with me, and I mean, so things got bad. I just want to wrap it up. Honestly, it's a lot. I'm gonna get to the bad part. I'm just gonna like swoosh a lot. So when I couldn't afford them anymore, that's when things got really bad. That's when things got so bad that thank you so much, Hidden Observer. Oh my God, thank you. Thank you. You will always be welcome and safe here. Thank you. Things got really, really bad for me with the pills, and my daughter was only 1 year old, and had a bad injury where I slipped in my kitchen and I fell in a puddle of water, and I like put out my arm to brace like to break my fall against the side of my refrigerator, and I don't know how it happened. My arm went up and I tore the soft connective tissue in my left shoulder, and I had a dislocated shoulder. I had to go to the hospital and they reset it. They used conscious sedation where they like give you some kind of drugs where you don't remember the events happening at all, so that they could reset it without you screaming and being traumatized by someone coming at you with brute force to put it back in. But so they put it back in, and then after that, I felt like I needed the pain pills, and who knows if I did or I might have. But I couldn't function without them. I couldn't function, and I would get so mad at my husband when he couldn't get them to me because I felt like, that I need these things to function. So how the hell are you gonna just be like, oh, I can't get them? You know that this is major. Like I was so mad that he just wouldn't understand because he's not an addict. He's not smokes pot or he used to drink a little, but he doesn't he doesn't go through what I go through. So he couldn't really understand it. And I would get so furious with him over just like how could you not get this and everything because he just didn't get it. And yeah, I really, really was getting furious with him a lot from my own addiction, and my anger was just getting bad, and I couldn't get out of bed in the morning. If I didn't have anything, I couldn't get out of bed in the morning to take care of her, and she was only one, and that was ridiculous. All I ever wanted was to be a mom, and here I was like throwing it away and not even able to come to terms with it because in my head I was like, I'm doing great, I'm a great mom, like I'm batting 1,000. Look at my kitchen, it's so clean. Everything is clean and immaculate here. I got bottles, I got diapers, boom, boom, boom. Nobody could say nothing. But really, it would have been much better for me to just do things at a much slower pace and have a messy house and not take the pills. I didn't need them. I didn't need them to function. And you never could have told me that. Never. I would have been like, how dare you even attempt to have a conversation with me? How dare you? If you know I don't have anything, seriously, why? Why? My anger and my rage was really unreal. Unreal. Even in recovery, I've had to work on that several times, believe it or not, several times because I would feel like that was on him. I would feel like that was on him. It was so bad, so bad. And then once I got into it with the Roxy's and stuff, once that came to be like the new thing, we could never afford pills anymore, no matter what kind of money we had or what prescriptions I was getting. And that was when I got introduced to heroin. That was when I realized that heroin was actually much cheaper than buying these pills off the street, and you can get a much longer lasting effect for less money. And I was like, wow, okay, you know what? Like maybe I can kind of make things work with this. To me, that was almost like a solution. That was almost like a great solution, like a really good idea that I had figured out some genius way, spending less money on a longer lasting high. And like, wow, brilliant. Brilliant. Oh, yeah, that's right, Calvel. Everyone should carry Narcan these days. As a matter of fact, I'm a certified Narcan instructor. I wonder if I would be able to do a demo on my channel of how to use Narcan. Um, I'm gonna look into that. I'm gonna look into the logistics of that. I think it has to be a one-on-one training so that you could be face to face with someone. But heroin is what did me in. Heroin is what took over my life completely. That along with the pills. And things got to be so bad we were evicted from the apartment that we were staying in. We actually had like 2 months notice and didn't do anything at all with those 2 months. Just fought over pills and money and everything. And up until the sheriff came to throw us out, and I didn't even have a bag packed. So of course we got evicted. I knew it was going to happen, but I didn't want to believe it. And we ended up staying in the apartment above from my dad. My dad has a two-family house, so we were upstairs from him. And then things got so bad that my dad ended up having to call ACS just to get involved because he didn't see another way to help me really. And he figured maybe that would help, which, yeah, I mean, once ACS gets involved, you friggin' know that stuff is serious. And um, it ended up when my husband said, I'm going to take our daughter and leave. And I didn't really believe he would ever do it. I didn't believe he would ever do it. And so I said, all right, you know what? That would be the best idea, actually. That's a great idea. That would be very mature of you. Maybe you ought to do it. And I still didn't think he was going to. But it turns out that the ACS worker told him that that would be in his best interest, would be just to take her and leave and go stay with a relative or a family member or wherever for the time being, because I wasn't gonna comply as much as I was trying to comply. I wasn't able to, and then I would have the house ready and everything. And once it would be like a surprise visit, and once the bell would ring, I would just go in the other room and be like, "Say I'm not here," because I couldn't face them. And my dad figured if he didn't do that and say like, "Listen, someone's got to do something about this," like he didn't know what to do for me. So I don't blame him at all because somebody had to step in. So my husband did take my daughter and leave. He did. He left. And I was devastated, but I believed he'd be back within a few days. I didn't think he would even stay a week. Um, After about a week, I realized it was like not maybe not coming back anytime soon. Um, and I had a friend move in with me because I never would have been able to manage on my own. I would go into depression even when I was using, and I would need somebody to meet dealers for me and all that. I couldn't have done it. I couldn't even have made phone calls to dealers. And so I had a girlfriend that was staying with me, and she was also very much involved in the lifestyle. Even though she was taking spots, and she was also dipping and dabbing. And she was actually teaching me a lot more about the lifestyle, which was not stuff I needed to learn about. These weren't helpful tips. I learned a lot about heroin from her, and not in a good way. Um, so he left my daughter, and now I have the friend living with me. And ACS case is closed because he took her and left, so they're not concerned anymore about me being neglectful and on drugs, because they knew he was a good parent. Not that I wasn't. I tried to be, but I was on drugs, and there was no hiding it. I got to be 102 pounds. I was 102 pounds, and I'm usually a chubby girl always. I'm usually plump and happy. I'm like the funny fat friend. I'm not the skinny girl. I was 102 pounds and I was a size 2, and I felt like, wow, this is great. I'm skinny. Look at me. I got to be skinny, guys. I look like Barbie and everything. And meanwhile, I looked like death. I looked like death rolled over, but I felt like I looked great, honestly. I felt like that was the best I ever looked. And that, honestly, I was like crediting heroin with a lot of it. I was like, wow, I found a drug that works. Really, 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 really sick stuff. Because then when he left with my daughter, I was free to give up. I was just free to give up. That was when I said, all right, well, that was when I made the conscious decision that I said, okay, I am just going to ride this mother trucker until the wheels fall off. That's it. And I was very, very adamant about doing so wholeheartedly. I said, well, this is it. If I don't have my daughter here with me, then I don't have anything to live for. And if I don't have anything to live for, then I might as well do whatever the hell it is that I want to do. And so I guess we're just going to ride this mother trucker till the wheels fall off. And that was my every intention. My every intention. I did not, yeah, yeah. I did not have any intention of stopping at that point. I couldn't see a real out. I couldn't see a way of how was I going to stop and reclaim any kind of dignity and then reclaim my life. And now how would I managed to, now I'm going to straighten things out with my husband. He actually was gone. It wasn't like he left just for a few days or a few weeks. I think it was like 2 years or a year and a half. It was a year and a half. It was from February of 2014 until May of 2016. He left in February of 2014. And then in May of 2016, I went for treatment. And he did actually, yeah. I still say it was like a divine intervention. So I had a friend who was living with me. I had a girlfriend living with me, and she was very much in the lifestyle, like I said, and taught me a lot of stuff about heroin, and it was not good. And she might have thought she was helping me at the time, but she ended up helping me in the best way she knew how at the end, which was by leaving. And we had cats together. We had rescued cats off the streets, little kittens. And so I woke up one morning and I noticed that I went to sleep and we were fighting and I was in withdrawals and I was like, you better get something for me, like figure it out. Go beg for money at the gas station or something, but figure it out, right? And I was in withdrawals already for like 12 hours where I was not feeling well whatsoever. And I went to sleep that night for like 12 hours. I knocked myself out with Benadryl so I would sleep. And then when I finally woke up, I was furious. I didn't even have a cigarette, and I totally needed one. And I went to the bathroom and I looked around and I noticed that the cats were gone. Cats were gone. And I said, wait a minute. No, how are the cats gone, right? So I look, I said, wait a minute, the friggin' litter box. The litter box is gone, the water dish, the food dish, the box of food. So she didn't have a lot of stuff. And I think she might have left some stuff, but I noticed that the cats and all their stuff was gone. I said, wow, okay. I don't think she's coming back. And I was definitely not equipped to make it in life on my own in any capacity, especially because if I was in withdrawals, I couldn't make phone calls or meet dealers or anything like that. So I guess she realized the only way to save my ass was to leave, and I called my husband and I was like, Ben, the cats are gone. I don't think my friend is coming back. Like, what am I supposed to do? And I was crying so bad. And I was like, you don't understand. I kept saying, I was like, you don't understand. I'm human. I'm a human being. I am not an animal. And I was saying that because I felt like I had been treated like an animal and then I become an animal, that I felt like an animal in a cage, pretty much. And it was like, this is not human. Like, the level of rage that I have is not even a human being level of rage. It's just completely brutally animalistic, which it was. It was that I was that mad at the world. I really was. Me, happy go lucky me. I was that mad at the world. And I mean, I was just waiting for an opportunity to take it out on someone, really waiting for it because I was that angry at everybody. And I called my husband. I was like, what the hell am I going to do now? And I was crying hysterical. And he's like, I think maybe you should go to the clinic where you used to go and get treatment. I used to go for my psych appointments to a clinic around the you from me, you know? And he's like, I think that what you need to do is stay on the phone with me and leave the house. Like, leave the house? What? And he said, yeah, stay on the phone with me and leave the house. And I said, I'm in my pajamas and I don't have a bra on and I don't know where is my ID or the keys to the house. And I don't have a cigarette or anything. I don't even have $1 to my name for a bottle of water. Like, I can't. And he's like, you have to. You leave the house and walk to the clinic where you used to go and tell them that you're an addict and you need help. And I was like, oh my God. I told him, I said, I feel like this is not even your voice coming through. Like, this is like God speaking through you. Even at the time I recognized it. And I stayed on the phone with him and I was like, but you don't understand, I gotta have a cigarette first, which I did. I was like, I have to have a cigarette first before I can go to the clinic and do this because I knew I was going to go to the hospital. And I didn't have one. And I was always really shy about asking anybody, like going up to a stranger and saying, excuse me, do you have an extra cigarette? Like, nobody has a friggin' extra cigarette. Nobody can afford anything extra these days. And I feel stupid to even ask. I'm not that type. I'd rather go without. And I was like, it was very hard for me, even like begging for money. I would always have girlfriends that kind of did the begging for me. It was so hard because I'm just not. It's so hard. And I was walking with on the phone. I was on the phone with him, and I got to the corner, right, and I found a Marlboro Light 100 on the ground, just laying on the sidewalk outside of the corner store. And my mom used to smoke Marlboro Light 100s. That was her brand. And this was a whole cigarette just laying there, you know? And I was like, oh my God, it's a sign. And it was. And I took the cigarette off the ground and I was like, I have a cigarette now. God placed a whole cigarette on the sidewalk in my freaking path to make sure that I got into treatment that day. It's so sick, but it's true. Because if I didn't have that cigarette, I don't know if I would have been able to like gather my thoughts enough to do it. And that clinic was about to close too. I think they closed at 4 o'clock and it was like 3:45. It was. It was 3:45 and they closed at 4. And I smoked a cigarette and then I said, I'm going to smoke it and I'm going to go in. And I hung up and I went in and I was like, hey, Jennifer Harris, thank you. And I said, okay, this was like placed here because God was like, this girl is not going to get treatment because she needs to have a cigarette first, which I did. A Marlboro Light 100. I said, my mom put it there. God put it there. And speaking through my husband, I swear to you, because I never, ever, ever would have thought that I could be in recovery. I never would have thought that I could function without popping pills. I needed Xanax to have a conversation. You couldn't talk to me because I needed Xanax to collect my thoughts and have a conversation, I would say. I would say that if I didn't have Percocet or if I didn't have Vicodin, it wasn't just one or the other. I needed to have both. And I couldn't do anything without it. I couldn't, you know, and to think that it's possible is really, I can never describe it. I could never even describe it. Like I'm gonna have to even do like a part 2 to this where I focus more on the recovery part and what it's like now because this took way too long. I mean, I'm gonna wrap it up, yeah, and then I'll take some questions and I'll do a part 2 next week where I do more on what it's like now and what I went through in treatment, in the actual treatment facility and stuff. So that was May 10th of 2016, the date with that phone call and finding the Marlboro Light 100 on the ground and everything. And I smoked it and I went into the clinic and I just told them, my husband gave me like a line to say, and I said it and I said, um, I'm a drug addict and I need help. I need help. I'm gonna break down. Like, please help me. And they're like, okay. And they're like, do you have a doctor you see here? I was like, no, I used to. I haven't been here. Blah 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 blah. Oh, Tuesday, thank you. I was like, I used to see a doctor here, but I haven't been here for the longest time. But I've always been a client. And they're like, do you want us to call for an ambulance for you? And I was like, yes, I do. Please. I couldn't call for an ambulance for myself. You know, I just couldn't. And my husband probably knew that they would do that for me. And that was all I needed was just for somebody to call it for me. And then I got to the hospital and I just cried and told them I'm a drug addict and I need help. I need help. I never got clean before and I want to get clean. I want to stop. And, you know, they had put me on methadone. They sent me to a place where they had a detox and a 28-day rehab. And they had me on methadone for the first 5 days and they tapered me off immediately. And they kept asking me in the beginning to make the decision of do I want to be on methadone or Suboxone or do I want to just be off everything? And I cried hysterical for 2 days straight. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you. I cried for 2 days straight because I said, well, I do want to be on methadone. Hell yeah, I want to be on methadone, you know? And then I knew that that was just going to be like a whole nother thing for me. And the doctor said, it's like you're reaching a fork in the road where you're going to have to make a decision here, you know? And I didn't really know what that meant at the time, but I do now. And I cried for 2 days because I wanted to say, keep me on the methadone, but I would still be on it probably 7 years later. So I thank God that I didn't make that choice. Even though if I did, I wouldn't discredit that or take away from my recovery whatsoever if that had been my path because I believe there's all different pathways to recovery, and no way is lesser or greater than another. Um, absolutely. But I was just glad because I knew that for me, I would never be able to get off of it, and it would just be a whole nother thing for me. I knew that I needed to get off everything because when my personality, it would just, I would have like misused that, and I knew it. And so I went to a 28-day rehab, and then had a great counselor that I met there that he inspired me to want to be a counselor. And I wanted to go to school for my KSAC originally once I got into treatment. And then I decided I was going to take the recovery coach route instead, which I did. Um, I did long-term residential treatment after the 28 days. So I did a 28-day rehab, and then I decided that I wasn't going to take the chance of going back out into the street after 28 days and try to reclaim my life after a month because I knew that it took a long time to get me that way, and it was going to take even longer to unget me that way. Um, so I committed 6 to 9 months in residential treatment and ended up staying for 16 months instead. 16 months. I went, I guess I won't disclose the names of all the treatment centers that I was in, but I went to a very good place upstate New York, that was for women only, and it was for all women. And I fought and kicked and screamed and said, I don't want to go to an all women facility. I want to have a co ed facility. And the counselor said, I think that you in particular would benefit more from an all female facility. And I didn't want that. But that turned out to be exactly what I needed. Oh, number one, I love you more. I do. Thank you so much. Thank you. The female run facility is just what I needed because I needed that support of one woman building up another woman. There's nothing like it. There is nothing like it. And I feel that for women to recover, the best way would be in an all female facility. I am absolutely for it. Also, when they say in AA or NA, to stick with your own sex, the women stick with the women and the men stick with the men. Or did I say that backwards? Sorry, my brain is weird. What did I just say? I said it, but it came out backwards. The women stick with the women and the men stick with the men. Okay. Sorry. And I feel that that's the way it's supposed to be in treatment for such a good reason. When you have the two opposite sexes together, it's just so many variables that it makes recovery together so hard. It's much easier to stick with the same sex. And so I did 16 months. And then after that, I was doing an internship. I had to do an unpaid internship for my recovery coach, and it was 500 hours. That's right, Kira. I didn't feel that so much in my life until I was in that treatment center. That's what made me have the love of the sisterhood and all this stuff. Yeah, I would never go back to being the kind of female I was before that. I was the kind of female that didn't appreciate or understand the value of women helping each other. Dude, there is nothing like it in this world. It is the best thing ever. I mean, I'm so committed. I want to go back to doing that after my daughter is more grown. I definitely want to go back to being a recovery coach, possibly going around to women's prisons and working with women that are trying to be reunited with their children after they get out. Um, yeah, and I definitely want to get into doing that again after my surgery. So I did treatment for 16 months because a lot of other people, a lot of them were mandated there, court mandated by drug court and stuff. And I was not. I was there because I chose to get help. And a lot of people said, like, how long do I have to stay for? Like, how long would you recommend to their counselor? And whenever they asked me that, I always told them, as long as it takes, as long as it takes. I'm not in a rush to go anywhere until I know that I'm like fully healed from this. I would cry all the time. I did so much crying those first 6 months. I must have dehydrated myself from tears. That was when they told me, Tara, it's a good thing because the tears are what do they say? Like it cleanses the soul, the windows of the soul. It washes the windows of the soul or something. You cry because I used to constantly apologize for crying all the time. And there was the poem that I read in early recovery that used to always make me cry. And every time I read it now, I cry still. And it's called "Please Hear What I'm Not Saying" by Charles C. Finn. If anybody has an extra 5 or 10 minutes later on tonight, go on Google and look it up. Please hear what I'm not saying. It's such a wonderful poem, and it talks all about wearing a mask in life and what it's like to let the mask down. And only by letting that mask down can you let other people in. And it's really intense, and I would encourage you all to read it. I'm also going to link the book, The Four Agreements. I'm going to cam off for 1 minute, guys. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to link that book, and then next week I'm going to have a part two to this. I'm going to have a part two next. I'll glam it up. Thanks a million. You could drop your link, babe. One of my mods, please drop the link for glam it up. Yeah, let's drop her link. Let's get her to 1,000, guys. Thank you for being here. My mods will drop your link. Thank you. So 16 months. And then after that, I was not I didn't have an apartment to go to. And my husband and my daughter had their apartment, but I was not welcomed to come live with them yet at that point. I still had a lot of stuff to prove and a lot of things to do. So I was doing my internship at the recovery center. And oh, thanks, Kira. Oh, you're the best. Thank you, Mama. Love you. Thank you. We'll get you to 1,000, girl. We're gonna get you there. Everybody, please go subscribe to Glam It Up. Let's get her up to 1,000. We'll get you there. Wait and see. um, she's gonna teach us all how to do our makeup. Thanks, you too. Thanks for being here. I appreciate it. Um, okay. So yeah, I was not welcome to come live with them yet at that point. We were just mending our relationship, my husband and I, and my daughter was getting used to me all over again because I had to go away out of her life for a whole year where I was upstate, and they did come and visit me, but she didn't fully understand, and they were out of my life, and it had to be that way. Thank God I understood that I have to be away from her for some time in order to be a good mom in the end. And I was so determined that I was like, however long it takes, I am not in any rush to leave here, especially if I'm not ready. I was petrified to leave, honestly, petrified. I became so good at like treatment that I wanted to work for, like, they had volunteer jobs, and my job was laundry. And I actually loved it, and that gave me a purpose. Michelle always talks about everybody having a purpose, and I really need a purpose in life. Like, I need to feel like I have that purpose in life to feel useful. And so being in treatment and being in charge of laundry actually gave me great purpose. And that gave me a sense of value. And I started going above and beyond in my job with laundry. Whereas I didn't have to fold any of the clothes, I didn't have to fold anything, but I always did. I folded everything and separated everything. And I didn't have to deliver the clothing back to the ladies at all. They were supposed to come pick it up from me at the laundry room. However, I decided that I would fold their clothes and I would bring their bag of clothing back to their room and put it on their beds for them with a note saying, "Have a beautiful day. You are loved. You are valued. You are beautiful." Whatever the positive message was. So I came up with all millions of different positive messages and affirmations. And I had neon pink post-its, and I would fold those clothes beautifully, and I would bring them in the bag to the women's room and put it right on top of her bed with the pink post-it. And would you believe that by doing that, number one, it put such a smile on their faces because they weren't used to having a laundry service like that. They had to usually just go pick it up. And number two, that made me feel so good, like that I was doing something so important, by making these other women feel good, that just by doing that job to the best of my ability every day, that helped me grow in leaps and bounds more than anything. That's why in treatment, they harp on doing service, about volunteering and doing for others. Because when you do service and you volunteer and then you put your all into it, where you say, I want to do this to the best of my ability, and I'm not just going to do it, whatever needs to be done, but I'm going to, just do everything as beautiful and as best as I can do it with the time that I have. And I did that, and that made me feel so good and so valued. Yes. And because they needed that, and I needed that. Number one, we both needed that. And so it was a reciprocal relationship, and that gave me my sense of purpose and value. And that was nice for them. They should feel pampered and beautiful and stuff too. And women need that. So I understood this. And to me, that gave me such value to feel appreciated by them. I think it was also the gratitude that they expressed that really did it for me. And, it was worth it. It was worth it. And, it was just like that really gave me that sense of self. And it was so great for me. That's why they harp so much on service. community service, volunteer work, and doing for others. It's to take you out of yourself, but it's also to give you that sense of purpose that you so desperately needed when you were in active addiction. It's so important to have a sense of purpose. And I think like there's always something that you can do to help other people, even if you don't see it. There's always somebody that has it worse than you. Like my mom used to tell me the story about, oh, there was a guy that used to go around crying because he didn't have any shoes. And then one day he stumbled upon a guy who didn't have any feet. And I used to laugh and be like, Mom, that's so ridiculous, you know? But it's actually very true. As silly as it sounds, it's really true, though. Always somebody that got it worse than you. Sometimes we sound so silly when we go on and on about about our first world problems that we have, when that's exactly what they are, is first world problems. You get it? If we're not trying to figure out where we're going to get something to eat tonight because we're starving and we don't have it, and we're not trying to scramble to figure out where could we find a spot to sleep because we don't have one, then I think we're good and we should be really grateful for that. Because there are a lot of people that are not able to figure out where they're going to have their dinner tonight. They don't have a place to lay their head safely. And a lot of us were going on about a lot of our first world problems, and it's a lot of BS. You know, that sense of purpose comes from doing for others. That sense of purpose comes for right, from seeing that there's always somebody that has it worse than us. Like when you stop seeing that, that's when, of course, your problems are amplified because of the negativity. Right. So that taught me a lot about doing that. And then I was in a sober house after that while I was doing my unpaid internship. Oh, number one, thank you. Thanks so much. I love you. Have a great night. Thanks for being here. Thank you for modding for me. I so appreciate you taking the time out. Thank you. I'm gonna wrap up soon anyway. But yeah, I'm gonna wrap up and I'm gonna probably do a part two to this next Tuesday at 9 o'clock. I'll do it exactly 1 week from now. It'll be next Tuesday at 9 that I'll do the part two where I'm gonna focus a little bit more on what it's like now and the positive changes that have come. Um, I believe that God helps those who help themselves. And I believe that nothing, anything worth having is worth fighting for, and things that are handed to you are great. That's all well and good. That's sweet. But sometimes it's a little bit more gratifying to actually work for what you want. And I did a lot of working for what I wanted in recovery. And I was extremely lucky and blessed in the sense that my husband did welcome me back because he didn't have to. He really didn't have to. He could have said, I'm completely done with you. And then God only knows how the parenting would have went. It probably would have been, I guess, a joint custody thing. And it would have been really sad for my daughter. And it would have been a lot of more work for me, definitely. And also a lot of disappointment because I had it in my head that at the end of it, my main hope was to rectify things, make up with my husband, and hope and pray that he'll take me back and then I could live with him and my daughter again. But that didn't have to be. That didn't have to be. And I saw so many cases where that was not the case. I saw so many cases where that was not the case that it made me feel almost guilty. Almost guilty that it was the case for me because I saw a lot of other women get clean and work their butts off in recovery in the hopes of being reunited with their spouse and their children. Spouses didn't take them back, or they had a very hard time getting their children back. Yeah, thank you, Kira. I am extremely blessed in the sense that I was reunited with my husband, and he did give me that second chance. We weren't even married before then. We were not married. We got legally married in 2020. Yeah. And so recovery gave me a new lease on life. Absolutely. Um, I am going to get further into this again. Thank you so much. I am going to get more into this next week. I'm going to have a part two, what it's like now. Unfortunately, it was just a lot of stuff. Thank you. I was very blessed in the sense that I got reunited with my family. And don't forget, that did not have to be the case. And if that was not the case, I was going to have to find a way to deal with that. You know, I didn't have it in my head that if it wasn't the case, I was just going to give up and relapse. I knew that even if that wasn't the case, I was going to have to find some way to handle it, And I'm very, very blessed and lucky. Absolutely. Yeah. And then I worked as a recovery coach for a few years, and I decided that I would stay home with my daughter for now for as many years as I'm able to, even though working would be very beneficial. But in the future, I want to do it, and I would love to maybe in the next year, within the next year, I would like to have a tour where I go around to different women's prisons and get to talk to them and share my story and try to work with them and work with them as a liaison between them and ACS to try to help them be reunited with their families. Because to me, a mother's job is one of the most important jobs there is. We train our children and then send them out into society. And what happens in society is a reflection of our parenting, in my opinion. And I think it's so important. Yeah, I'm definitely blessed beyond measure. Yeah. And I feel like I feel so bad, but I'm gonna have to do a whole part 2 next week because it's been so much. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna wrap it up with the collective version of the Serenity Prayer. If you do not believe in God, feel free to exchange that for your higher power or whatever you feel in the universe. Everybody take a moment. May God grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, the courage to change the things we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen. It's a lot, guys. It's a lot. You, town crier. Oh my God, thank you. Thank you so much. And I want to get back out there. Yeah, I want to get back in circulation. Oh, thank you. I'm going to do a part 2 next week where I'm going to touch more on what it's like now and what is all of the good things that have happened as a result of my recovery for myself and my daughter and the people that I've been blessed and fortunate enough to be able to help. Thank you so much, guys. If anybody has any questions that they've been wanting to ask, I'll welcome them now. I'm scrolling up to see if there's some questions that I missed or if anybody spotted a question or had a question. I'll take any questions if anybody did have any. Thank you so much. Thanks a million. Um, thank you, Kira. Jennifer Harris, Slam It Up, number one Swat Waffle, Tuesday, Yama Sushi Roll, Hidden Observer, Hellbow, Real Angel Girl, Bell Bell, Bootsy, Kira, Flava, Flav. Thanks for being here, Flava. Appreciate it. Y'all could drop Flava's link. Yeah. Thanks so much, guys. Sorry I've taken up a lot of your time tonight. Thank you, Kira. Thank you so much. I pray that my words might reach somebody that is still struggling with addiction tonight. Um, I pray that my words will make it to the right ears and that those ears will be ready to receive the message. If anybody is still struggling in active addiction, if you reach out to me, I can point you in the right direction of where to receive professional treatment. And I encourage you to Google your local intergroup of AA or NA and also look into smart recovery meetings as an alternative. It doesn't have to be AA or NA only. I also really like the alternative of smart recovery meetings. If you look into it, it's a very cool alternative that there is for AA. And if you're on the fence about AA, I understand it's not for everyone, in my opinion. But Smart Recovery is a really awesome new alternative. I encourage you to check out Smart Recovery meetings. They are available in your local area. And if you're interested, you can email me at TaraF1227, and I'll be more than happy to get you information on your local Smart Recovery meeting. That's okay. That's okay. Thank you so much for being here with me tonight, guys. It means so much that I'm able to share my personal story with you. And I have so much support that it's just incredible. Way more support than I ever anticipated or expected. You guys are really just the bomb. Thank you so much. Thanks a million, guys. Oh, Bell Bell, stop. Oh, stop. You're gonna embarrass me now. Thank you, Bell Bell. Thank you. That is my hope. How did you pay for your drugs anymore? That's a great question, Kira. Absolutely. That is a great question, right? So, right, it was very hard, extremely hard. And my girlfriend and I that I had staying with me, we devised like excuse me, we devised a plan to kind of scheme money every night. And honestly, I had tried stripping. I tried stripping, right? That's hilarious. It was a hilarious fiasco. Number one, I'm definitely no good at it. I'm extremely awkward. And number two, my body looked fine. I was like thin-ish at the time. My body looked okay, but my movements are just so awkward. And then I can't wear heels at all. I can't do the heels. So it was just a really funny, funny thing watching me attempt it that one time. But yeah, it was really funny. So I can't strip because of the heels and the awkwardness. And prostitution was something that I did consider, and I tried so hard to get myself to try to mentally tell myself that I would be able to do it. That I even went through the preparations of like getting myself ready on a few nights, but I was never ever able to follow through. We even had set something like that up where I was going to do it, and I even went through all the motions. And when it came time, I couldn't do it. No matter how sick I was, I couldn't bring myself. But I did try stripping, and that was a no go. And so we came up with a scheme. We would go around to gas stations, and she had a car, so she would like pretend that I guess that her gas tank was empty and that she was out of gas completely. And I would say that we were in a bar and we were in Brooklyn. And so I would come up with this whole story that we were drinking in a bar and I had my purse with me with my money and cell phone and credit cards or whatever. And so I lost my purse at the bar. I was drinking. Someone stole my purse, and I was the only one with the money between us. This was my story, right? And then I would tell them that she didn't have gas. And also on top of that, we lived in Staten Island and had to pay the toll to get back home, which was like $20 or $18 or something like that. So every time I would tell that story, well, I mean, some people didn't believe me. Some people would say, screw off or whatever. But for the most part, I think a lot of people either believed me or just felt bad and pitied me and pretended to believe me. But we did this every single night because um, she worked, she had a job, and then she would sell her Suboxones, and I would sell all my scripts and buy, sell, and treat. But there was like daily money that we needed to come up with still. And so we did this gas station scheme where I would go up to people and just start crying and say how we were stranded. And I lived in Staten Island, and I said we were drinking. Someone stole my purse. She doesn't have the money. I had the money. And so now that we were stranded with no way to get home, and a lot of people, I don't think they really believe me. I think they probably pretended to believe me. You know, a lot of people would just give me a $20 bill, probably just to get the hell away from them. because I remember feeling like I scored out so often, but I have paid that forward though in spades ever since. I've definitely put that back out into the universe and sprinkled it wherever I went, whenever I had it, and in the collection boxes of NA. I did put it back into the universe because I know that that's like stolen goods, pretty much. But yeah, we had a gas station scheme. She would go with the gas can and say that she was out of gas and her car wouldn't start. And her car always had like less than a quarter of tank or something because we lived right around the corner from the gas station. But nobody knew that. We told them that we lived in Staten Island. We had to pay the toll to get back. Someone stole my purse. And I would be crying and mascara running and everything. And God knows, most people probably just felt bad for me, knew that I was lying. I'm sure that that story is as old as time, no? Like, is this a story that anybody has been familiar with or heard of or possibly used? Has anybody ever done anything similar or heard of anyone doing something similar? I don't know where I came up with the idea. I guess she came up with the idea of hustling for gas money, but the gas money didn't cut it. People would give us a couple of dollars and that was it. And I was like, I need to make sure I get at least $20. The hell could I say that's going to guarantee $20? And it came up with the whole Staten Island toll thing that I needed a toll to get over the Verrazano. Devious, right? But it was better than the alternative, and I couldn't strip. I would have, but I just couldn't. It was just so laughable. Aside from being awkward, I couldn't wear the heels. Nope. Oh, you never heard of anyone doing at the gas station hustle? Oh my God. And I don't have it, like, I didn't think I had it in me to be like a hustler like that and to get away with it. So I'm guessing that my story was probably not as believable as I thought it was at the time. Because I used to be like, oh my God, they believe me. But I'm pretty sure the ring scam on Zombieland. Oh, I never watched Zombieland. What is it on? Is it like Netflix or Tubi or Kira? You never heard of no one doing that? Yeah. And now you know. Now at least all you know if you ever get approached at a gas station by someone with a similar story, most likely they're hustling you. Now you know that. Yeah. I had to get very creative because, like I said, I did consider prostitution, and I even went through the motives of setting something up and getting myself prepared. And but when it came time to do it, I couldn't do it, no matter how sick I was. Didn't. I just didn't. Maybe things. I guess that things never got that bad for me that I did it because I'm sure they say everything is a yet. They say, well, you didn't get to that point yet, which is true. I'm sure that if I had continued on, eventually those yets would have become, you know, possibilities. Sometimes yeah, the stories. That was the, yeah, that was the story that like we did. Oh my God, we had to do that at least every single night for a whole year. And the stupid thing is we went to a lot of the same gas stations. Like I know that I must have been seeing the same gas station doing that story at least 5 times. What the hell is wrong with I'm lucky it's that someone didn't spot me doing that and be like, wait a minute, I saw you doing this. Nobody even called me out. I think maybe I was such a mess. They felt bad for me. I don't even know. I don't even know. Yeah, she was working at a supermarket, so we had her check, and then we had our pills that we sold and traded, and her Suboxone that we sold and traded. And then there was for like our daily money, there was the gas station scheme. I know. Yeah. Oh yeah. But I am gonna do a part two next week. I'm sure my mods have dropped my Cash App enough throughout here. It's Midnight Mama 82, and I'm gonna link those books. Oh, I think Kira dropped the link, but I would drop the link. I mean, I'm gonna link them in the description box just for people watching the replay so that it's easy to get to. It was so much work, Kira, that it wasn't even worth it. Bell, no, I'm not still friends with her. I'm not. I did call her from the rehab a few times and I thanked her for leaving. I thanked her for leaving because I said, well, if you didn't leave, I never would have gotten clean. Things had to be that bad for me. And I always needed somebody to help me with like daily things. Just wondering if she's clean now. I wondered too. I last I talked to her was 7 years ago, and I was in the rehab, and she said that she was gonna get fully clean off the Suboxone and stuff then, and even if she was only on Suboxone, that's still being clean, and that's still in recovery, 100%. I don't take away from medication assisted treatment at all. Everybody's recovery is just as valid. Nobody is better than or worse than. Um, and there's so many different paths to recovery. And there's Cali sober, which is me, California sober. I smoke weed, but that's it. And everybody has their own pathway, and just don't let anybody tell you the right way for your recovery. Sometimes harm reduction can be invaluable. Harm reduction sometimes, you got to do what works for you, and everybody's different. But you always got to try. You always got to try, and as long as you're trying to do better, um, just trying to do better, and I think taking time to sit down and meditate and just become one with your thoughts and the universe, um, slowly but surely, progress will be made. Guys, thank you so much for being here tonight. This has been really, really awesome for me. Oh, Kira, thank you. Oh my God, thank you. Thanks. This has been so awesome. I don't want to make it like a 6 hour live or something, or else I would just keep going. But I'd rather keep my lives like under 3 hours, I guess, or under 3 or 4 hours. So I'm gonna cut it, and I'm gonna do a part two to this, my recovery, what it's like now, something like that for the title. And so next Tuesday at 9 p.m., I'm gonna be back with part two. Tomorrow, I'm gonna do a little makeup demo for you guys in the afternoon time. And so we'll have our makeup live tomorrow afternoon, probably around 1. And then I think this Saturday, I'm going to do the premiere of our delve into the Manson girls. And we're going to start out with Susan Atkins, Sexy Sadie. Starting out with her. She was my favorite one to observe. And we're going to have fun with makeup tomorrow, you guys. Thanks a million for being here. You guys have been so supportive and so encouraging towards me that I really can't express my gratitude enough. I love having a channel. I love being able to talk to you guys. And I hope that my words might somehow help or inspire somebody in any kind of way. I love you guys. I hope that everybody got something out of tonight. And I hope that you'll spread positivity and just keep trying to pay it forward, guys. I'm going to wrap it up. Thanks a million for being here. I love you guys so much. I appreciate each and every one of you, my subscribers, my mods, everybody. You guys are the best. Thank you so much for all of your support. It really means the world to me. I love you guys. Good night. Mwah.